Hello, everyone, and welcome to SmashBoxxTV Podcast 552. Coming up on that elusive 555 number.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, no different than 600. I mean, it's no different than, 555. It's
444 was special.
Exactly what happens.
Maybe not. Welcome in, everyone. Tonight, we got a couple things to talk about. It was, of course, a busy weekend from the Disc Golf Pro Tour side of things, and then stuff that we even mentioned last week, now we can follow up on. And one of the big stories last week, just rewinding 7 days ago, was the idea that we were going to see some betting that was available. And so I'm curious to see and hear how rich everyone is now in terms of the betting that took place.
Are you ready to retire, Terry? Did you...
Not yet.
No.
One more week. I just have to make up for this week, and then next week, and then the week after, and then I'll be able to retire on all of it.
Okay. One stroke, Terry.
Yes.
I was one Chris Dickerson stroke away from $150. He needed to, because when we were on the show last week, I threw I think it was 5 or 20 or I don't remember what number.
5,000.
It was like $5,000 or something.
You opened up 4 different accounts so that you could maximize it.
And they had him at 14.5. And so I thought that was a great number.
Considering he's only finished outside of top 10 once.
And that was 11th.
In Tennessee playing history.
He was one. I picked Kristen to do better than 2.5. I picked Ezra Robinson to finish.
Who makes the last putt.
Yeah. No, I had him at a different number than you did. I got him earlier than you, so they had him a little bit lower. So so for me, he just had to finish like top 10. I think I had him at like 9.5 or 10.5.
He was at 8.5 when I saw the line.
Then Chris Dickerson, I got him at 14.5, and I thought this is this is a steal. I'm stealing their money, Terry.
Yes, you are. They owe you that money. That is rightfully yours.
With like 4 holes to go, he was in like 9th place, and I'm like, oh, cool. He's just got to finish strong.
Yeah.
He didn't finish strong, Terry.
So are we?
So they hit the right number. At 14.5 was clearly the right number. I mean, they moved it. They ended up moving it.
Yeah, he was 8.5 when I saw him.
Exactly. I got him at a steal, and I still got stolen from. So you know what? That's why you only bet what you can afford to lose. I'm going to need to borrow some money, Terry.
Told me that. Yeah. Well. First weekend is in the books. I'm excited. I don't see my chat just yet, but I am excited to hear what other people thought of it. We can dive into that a little bit more when we get to some of the stats. Let me break down some of the things we can talk about. Obviously, Music City Open, and whether it was money you won or lost, or some of the things that took place there at the course or off the course. We're going to have Austin Turner joining us tonight. He is currently at a dinner, he told me. And so he said, I said, take your time. Do what you got to do, and whenever it's comfortable, just click on the little link I sent him, and hopefully he'll be able to jump in and catch up with us for a little while. Obviously, he's been one of the stories here in the early part of the season, on top of the fact we're seeing the Finnish cowboy in Niklas Antila. I'll steal the line. I saw it posted elsewhere. Who would have thought we would see, I don't want to say anyone, but, and this is no rip on Niklas, but to see Niklas win 2 events before Gannon Burr has won 1 event.
Yeah, that's
and I think that's just a very succinct way of putting it. Very interesting to see.
Before Gannon or AB.
Yeah.
Honestly, because those guys were kind of picked early on. They both did well early last year. AB, did very well early last year. And Gannon, well, he's like number 1 in the point series. Consistency pays off. He just hasn't gotten that Pro Tour yet, and Niklas has twice now.
So congrats to Niklas for taking down. It's funny because, of course, the phrasing kept being back-to-back. He won back-to-back times in Austin recently, and then wins back-to-back events by winning in Austin and then coming to this event and winning. So I guess no matter how you cut it, but I'm sitting there in my head trying to
lots of back-to-backs.
Sort it all out. So nonetheless, congrats to him. And of course, we'll talk about the performance that we saw from Silva Saarinen along with Kristen Lett. It was, again, another, like I don't know if you call it an instant classic, but it definitely had all the drama and everything that you could ask for, the heartbreak, the triumph, the grit, determination, it
was a great event.
Yeah, it's just all around. So we can talk about that as well. So, but Austin Turner, so we may or may not get into whatever conversations, but once Austin's here and ready to go, we'll certainly have him jump on and join us.
We also had a major this weekend.
Yes, we did.
A lot of people maybe kind of got glossed over, as it tends to almost every single year. But the Collegiate Disc Golf National Championships happened this past weekend as well. Do we want to go over a little?
Yeah, let's go over that. I've got a note from one of the coaches in Eric McCabe.
What's that guy
I do have some notes from him because, like you just said, it's easy to kind of get lost. There's a lot of things going on with the Collegiate National Championships.
There's
and B, it's happening
8 majors going on.
Yeah, and it's happening well. And Elite Series is also going on. So, as you said, even though we see Gatekeeper and we see Ace Run Pro there, it still overall doesn't have its own time to shine, so to speak, solo. So read off what you got.
Yeah, we'll go through some of the results pretty quick because, again, there's a lot of them. MA1, this is for singles. This is the D1 singles. Winning this was Eastern Mennonite University. Jesse Longneck. Second place was Mary Hardin Baylor, Jaden Rye. And a tie for third place between Emporia State University, which was Cade Kohlmeyer, and Redeemer Royals, which was Kalen Schatt. So that is your D1 singles.
Yeah, D1 men's singles.
There's so many.
They have it separate.
Oh, they have it separate. So that's your D1 men's singles. Let's look at the D1 women's singles. I'm going to try to remember which ones we do and don't go through here. The D1 women's singles. Winning this one was Emporia State University gold. Atlanta Krieger. Maybe Kruger. Sorry, Atlanta. But she wins, shooting a 5 under par by a single stroke over Liberty University women's Flames, Grace Wilson. In third place, I almost had a 2-way tie, but it's just 2 Clemson names back-to-back in third and fourth. But third place, Clemson, Noelle Erb. So congratulations to the top 3 in the FA1 division. We'll talk about the team event now, the Division I team event. That went to University of Cincinnati. The Fightin' Ohioans? I don't know. Anyway,
I don't think that's what it is.
Shut your mouth. Anyway, in first place, like I said, Cincinnati, University of Cincinnati, Bradley Caldwell, a name we know very well here, Ilkin Grow.
Yes, very much so.
Tanner Young and Lucas Fogelsong. That was your first place. Second place, Charlotte. Fighting Carolinans?
Sure.
Yeah, sure. Owen Rice, Jack Lang, Zizzy Newell, and Timothy Niven. And in third place, University of North Carolina, UNC. Fighting UNCs? No? Damn, I'm going to get one of these.
No, I think you are at this rate.
Winning in third place, Anthony Anselmo. Thank you.
Yep.
Anthony Anselmo, Jasper Tile, Zane Kaiser, and Mitchell Massey. So congratulations. That was your D1 team event. Did they break this one up by men and women? This is just
I think it's
this didn't say men, but it is the D1 team event. So now let's go and talk about. We'll go to the D1. Oh, this one's called the D1's women's singles. So they didn't say men's before. I suppose it would be mixed technically. So that's why they probably don't say men's. This is the D1 women's. Liberty University, Fightin' Flames. Only because it says the Flames right there. So I'm good there. Cami Lazo and Grace Wilson takes first place. Second place, Emporia State University Gold. Atlanta Krieger and Madeline Joyner. Those are your top 2. I'll go with third place tie. Milligan University A, Lily Marr and Grace Sanderson. And Clemson, Missouri Wolf and Noelle Erb. So that is your women's national championship. I will give them their props, but they don't get all 3. D2 Sorry, Division II. Winning the D2 singles, Mississippi State B, which is Jake Hines, heir to the catch-up fortune,
of course.
I'm sure.
Spelled differently, I think, but it might be.
Doesn't matter. Terry, you just need to work with me here.
No. They're a very gracious family that says, "Oh, it's
close enough.
The same."
Close enough. You're in the will, kid.
Yes.
D2 team was Charlotte B, Abel Boyd, Danny Hamilton, Will Hewitt, and Peter Jeniak. Congratulations. They won by a single stroke over Mississippi State B. And we'll look at D3. This is D3 now. This is Milligan C, which is Aaron Walker, Mitchell Mall, James Blocker, Owen Gibson. And we'll go to D3 singles.
Just remember, you heard all these names here
first
when we're interviewing them after taking on their first pro tour someday.
That's true. This one's interesting because Penn State B, Alex Ferry, wins this by a single stroke over Penn State B's Zach Anixtein and Milligan C's James Blocker. So those are that's your D3 Collegiate National Champions.
Congrats to everyone. We talked about this last week in seeing some of the pictures and whatnot of just the collection of players that has amassed at this event. And when it all started, there was a video posted with Pete May and literally dozens of people being present to now, going 800 to 1,000 deep or somewhere in that neighborhood, and it's only continuing to grow. It's pretty cool to see the likes of Avery Jenkins and Eric McCabe and others, Zach Melton, all being involved in some capacity, some more than others these days. But just the fact that there's so many people itching to play, and now we are seeing scholarships and teams being assembled. I just think it's really cool, and certainly some opportunities that have only come in the last few years thanks to the hard work of Pete May and all the other visionaries that were part of pushing forward with the collegiate disc golf scene. Real quick, I had asked EMAC, I said I'm pretty ignorant to everything that happened. He's probably not surprised by that. And I basically said, what are some of the cliff notes that I should know? And he said that the Liberty University women dominated. You read them off as your winner. And on the women's side, that they had a national champion in singles.
Won $300 on those Liberty women.
Yeah, you did. The national champion, Atlanta, as you mentioned, in singles, and then second in team. You also mentioned how Cade was finished on the podium for ESU, and then he said the Cincinnati men, I'm going to quote him, they are damn good.
All right.
So some praise and accolades and respect all coming from the ESU coach and world champ Eric McCabe. So very cool. It's going to be exactly that. We fast forward a couple of years, and all of a sudden we're going to be on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. Somebody's going to be on leader chase card, and there's going to have to be a bio blast put together, and it's going to be one of those names that we just read off, and one of them will say, yep, finished on the podium in 2025's Collegiate Nationals. That will be part of their background. You can all but guarantee it. You think of people like Robert Burridge, I think most recently is one of those names that associates with the Collegiate Nationals. And then Ilkin Grow, as you mentioned, I watched him win the
AmNats?
USAM Nats, then go toe-to-toe with Paul Kranz at the Am Worlds just a few months later, back and forth with Paul on a few different events. Ilkin Grow, clearly a superstar, along with everyone else who performed well, but some names we're already starting to get familiar with, which is pretty cool.
And Tim Courts, who is our local Ohioan, he says there's only one senior on the UC team, University of Cincinnati. So that's means solid playing for next year, too.
Quite possibly.
Someone's going to have to step up.
No surprise that what Tim also said there's that Ace Run Pro and Gatekeeper killed it on coverage. Again, it was probably easy to get a little bit lost in the shuffle because there's so much emphasis on our Elite Series that was going on throughout the weekend. But nonetheless, go out there, make sure you can consume it. Now you're probably all caught up on everything that took place for the the Music City Open. So go take in the action on Gatekeeper or out there with Ace Run Pro. It was Felix from Ace Run Pro who had also made a poster too about how this is one of his most favorite events of the year to be at and to cover, and understandably so. I can imagine the excitement, the anticipation,
the energy
the
from a bunch of
enthusiasm,
college
the energy,
kids.
all of those, exactly. So I was there a few years ago when it was at the IDGC, and it was incredible to be there and be part of it. So congrats to all of them.
Real quick, should we touch on the Daniel Bow, which is an A tier?
Yep.
The Daniel Bow, which was a pro A tier out in Escondido, California. Winning that was Gavin Boss, shooting 22 under par. He's a 998 rated player. He shot a 1043, 1021, and 1005 for $1,000. Second place was Daniel Perry, and a three-way tie between third place between Zaylin Nash, John Ryan, and Avail Gomez. And going down to the FPO, we've got Shelly May. She wins this one, $430, shooting even, 7 strokes better than Natalie Ortiz, and third place, Violet Main. So some of those regular East Coast names that we hear. The MP40 division are the names that we know, though.
Yeah,
winning that, Carlo Pelg, who kind of, I won't say vanished off the scene for a while, but really went away.
Yeah, he wasn't a big traveler.
No, but
more east, but we certainly knew him when he was in his heyday.
Oh, yeah, most certainly. Chris, was it Pasuino? Chris Pasuino, who I don't know. Taking second. Third place, Steven Rico. So that's your MP40 men's. There is an FP40. We'll say Rian Hamilton wins that. Congratulations. Now, we can get into the Music City Open.
Every bit of weather and mess,
roller coaster,
and forecast.
That's kind of how I felt.
Was present. It seemed as if, and I'll say this: I feel like that the women, a little more than a third of them, played all 54 holes, but the women's division got 3 rounds in. And the men's division got 3 rounds in. That in itself
is a minor miracle.
I would have bet against last week. I don't know where the picks were on Underdog or any of the betting sites.
Yeah, I lost 200 on that one.
Yeah, if that would have been any kind of wager could have been placed on will our champion play 54 holes of golf on either, I would have bet against it. With the way the forecast was, the way the Pro Tour was already prepping for it, people on the ground, the city, the players, everyone involved, the way they were prepping for it, I would have absolutely bet against that they would have gotten 54 holes of golf in to determine our winners. So now there, hats off, congratulations on the fact that got pulled off.
Hindsight 2020, I don't know if they necessarily needed to, but they did end up making a cut on the third round. I'm glad they did. I'd rather do that and play it safe than not. But the third round was cut down to like 50 men and 20 women, I think. Maybe it was even somewhere around there. And I could honestly probably just look because it has there's ratings here. 44 men and 24 women. So they made that decision on Saturday because the men already on Friday got rained out, had to complete their first round in the morning on Saturday. Saturday they played 2 rounds, and then they just, sometime on Saturday they decided they're making a cut. Bless them for doing that, so they could make sure to get everybody in before whatever else was going to hang around. And shout out to the grounds crew out there who absolutely killed it, kept that course playable. Was it in the greatest condition ever? Hell no. But you know what? It was playable. It wasn't, there were a few spots where you could just tell, like, there's nothing you can do. It's going to be a mud pit. But there wasn't a lot of standing water on the course. Not where the players were playing, which is great. Very, very soft greens. So you weren't seeing a lot of skips. This type of course, with the way that the grass and everything is, if it's super dry, there's a lot of there can be a lot of ground action. You weren't getting that this weekend, that's for sure. So ultimately, taking this one down in MPO was Nicholas Antala. He shot a 26 under par. just a phenomenal final 2 rounds, a 1069 and a 1082. His first round, he shot a 1028, which was honestly kind of mediocre, but he kind of clawed his way back and was able to just take it down. And you could see it on hole 15 in that final round when he had the chance to go up 2 strokes on Turner and Macbeth. And Gannon was already ahead of them a little bit, so it was kind of hard to say, but and he canned like a 50-footer.
Yep.
It was the most beautiful putt. And right when he did that, all I thought was game over. I'm like, there's no way anyone can catch him. Then he got to hole 17 and he threw kind of a mediocre shot. And I'll be honest, I was watching from an arena and some stands, so I kind of kept my phone on me. A lot of the other parents looking at me strange. When he hit that, I went, whoa, no way. And a guy next to me was like, what? I was like, oh, nothing. I'm literally just, and he's like, oh, all right, whatever.
I got big money on this. Don't worry about it, bro.
No, don't sweat it. And so Nicklaus just put it out of reach. Even though on 17, he kind of threw himself in a bad position, he was able to get up and down. He wasn't that bad of a position, and we'll talk more about hole 17 when we talk about the FPO. But ultimately, Nicklaus going back-to-back, just putting, I can't really say he put the hammer down. He just clutched up, honestly, when he needed it most. And there was a chance on hole, I think, 16 or 17 that Macbeth could have got a stroke back.
Yep.
But still, even then, I honestly felt like even if Macbeth gets a stroke back here, I just don't think he can catch him at this point. I just didn't think, not the way Nicklaus was playing. Macbeth would have had to more or less get a birdie there and then get a birdie on like 18 as well. And Nicklaus would have had to not birdied either of those or something along those lines. So it was a very good showing from our young competitors. I mean, the top 3, Nicklaus, Gannon Buhr, and Austin Turner. I think Austin Turner is the oldest one of them. At what, 26? 25?
Of the group, he's definitely getting, of that group, yeah.
And he feels young,
yeah,
which is funny. So
yeah.
It's like we said, tied for second place. Gannon Buhr, who shoots an outrageous final round, a 1082 final round.
Yeah, after bogeying his last hole.
Yeah,
certainly had the course record in check. And then,
did you see that throw on the hole 18? I don't understand what that disc did. It looks hole 18 downhill, 520 feet, I believe, something like that. All these guys can, for the most part, reach this if they put. I'll say this, it was windy, so to not reach it this weekend, understandable. But in normal weather, they can all pretty much get there. Gannon threw a shot that looked like he threw the wrong disc. It got up and turned over like my jaw was almost on the floor at what had happened at that. It's like he just either completely misread the wind or he literally grabbed the wrong disc. That's all I can think. Because the way it stood up and flipped over and went so far right. It wasn't like he just missed the out of bounds. Like, it turned a little bit. It just vanished. It just turned over and went forever. On a shot where he could probably throw something clearly more stable on a hyzer and give himself at least a putt. I don't know if he was going for an ace and just misplayed it. I don't know what his idea was there. Ultimately, he lost by 3 strokes, so it didn't really matter. But at best, he picks up 2 strokes if he parks it and taps in the putt, as opposed to taking the 4. But that still puts him down by 1. But it was just the strangest shot on 18. And Austin Turner tied for second. And we'll bring this up now. Maybe we'll bring it up when he's there. Missed solo second by missing like a 15-footer on the final hole, which we will say, if he has a kryptonite, it's his short-range putts. He'll probably admit to that. It's one of those things that he needs to work on, and that's fine. He has no shortage of distance. He putted pretty well this weekend. Clearly, you have to in order to take second place. But just one of those things where it hurt a little inside to watch him miss that. You're like, oh man.
Yeah, to know that there was like real money riding on that putt. Yeah. Sometimes there's always money and it's always real, and we don't want to downplay it. But
probably about $1,000.
But when you're talking, 27th place versus 28th place, or a tie for 27th versus a tie for 28th, you might be talking about $100. Here, you're talking about some tour points of taking second outright. And then also you're talking about a couple of $1,000 probably when it's all said and done. But
yeah, probably 2,000 because I'm guessing it would have gone like 10,000 and then 7,000 or 7,500
and then 5,000
and then
or
4,000
like
maybe something along those lines. But either way, that hurts a little bit in your soul to watch someone do that. And because we've all been there, we've all had that opportunity, and
never for that much.
But. No, not for that much. Usually for like a disc at league, which is hurts just as much, Terry.
Yes, when you scale it, yes. I mean, missing that putt at league for the $9 disc after you've only paid, $6 to get in.
Yes.
Then yes, at scale, I totally agree.
Scale.
Like, dang it, I could have had a premium plastic disc. Instead, I got to take a D or a DX disc. Nonetheless, and then I'm excited to talk more with Austin. It's been a minute since we've had him. We've had him on the show before, and he's clearly one of the main reasons, not the main, but obviously having him because he's been on an interesting journey here throughout these last couple of years. And so we'll dive more into that. I guess I don't even need to preview it. You guys know what's coming.
We'll get into everything.
Wrap up our top 10 there.
4th place, Paul McBeth. Again, he was in it up until about hole 15 when he took the bogey. And that's when Nicholas hit the big putt for birdie. At that point, lights out for Paul. But Paul's just been very consistent this year. I mean, it fully looks like he's back. I think he could, and he'll say, another thing he'll probably say himself, he could clean up his C1 putts a little bit. He missed a few more, and those short C2s that you kind of just expect him to make, he just hasn't been able to hit them. And it was really hard to judge this weekend, because of the wind. So when you're not draining 30 and 40 foot putts, it's hard to make that. It's hard to look down on a guy like that. But ultimately, he takes 4th place. 5th place tie between Andrew Marweed and Isaac Robinson. Marweed is no doubt, a putting machine. We've all known it. It's such a thing of beauty. I could just sit and watch him hit 30-footers for hours, I think. Just though his sweeping kind of pendulum putt that he has kind of dips it down between his legs a little bit, and then it's just straight as an arrow. Every time I was like, show me more Marweed. I just want to see that guy putt some more, is all I kept thinking. And when you're putting as well as he is, it's such an easier game. I'll say that when you can putt as well as he does. And as we said, Isaac Robinson, your 2-time world champ, kind of just hovering right there on 5th. Never was really in it to win, but just played a really good first round and then 2 okay rounds after that. 7th place, Evan Smith. 8th place, Matty O. Tied with Ezra Robinson. Thank you, Ezra, for almost helping me out win some money. Much appreciated. And a 3-way tie for 10th place, Adam Hammis, Silas Schultz, and Ezra Aderhold. And if you, I could have told you this week, Ty Love was going to do well. I had him picked as a sleeper because he finished last year here in 7th. And I just felt like, this is kind of his course for him. But ultimately, what really matters is when you go down to 20th place, you see Chris Dickerson at 13. Had he gotten a stroke better, it would have bumped him up to tied for 13th, and I would have won. Chris Dickerson,
you would have been rich. Money. Disc golf rich.
You owe me money, Chris Dickerson.
You should. Are you going to start sending him nasty messages?
Oh, probably.
Just saying.
Just slowly. Like, he owes me money.
Yeah. Seems appropriate. And wait for it. I know we make the jokes now, but people are going to get nasty. And I'll just quickly touch on the fact that as Tim, I think, put it on the board earlier, during the weekend and now even after the weekend is done with our first weekend of having official betting being available, there's still a lot of mixed reaction. And that's probably going to be there throughout.
Yeah.
I still get conflicted walking into casinos and being at certain places where I'm like, this doesn't seem like a good idea for a lot of people. But here we are throwing away all this money, or many people are. I always win, of course.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe not. But
I usually do. Until
walking away from some of these places thinking, man, we're setting these people up to fail and just give away money.
It's entertainment.
If you look at it that way. So I'll be interested to see how if the tide changes at all throughout the year, or if it's just forever going to have this notion of some people are really for it, some people are against it, some people are somewhere in the middle. They don't really care one way or another. It may or may not be for them. I don't know if that will swing in any one obvious favor by the end of the year or not, but interactions with players, I think, will become real. I think
at some point you're going to
hear or see signs or have comments made that, and even if it's like only half-hearted, I think you're going to see it, and we'll have to see how that goes.
I hope we don't see it for a while, but
yeah,
it's one of those things. So, talking about FPO, Kristen Lett wins in dramatic fashion over Silva Saarinen, a playoff, in fact. Kristen just kind of, I don't say marched her way to a victory here. I'm going to view the whole scores here just because it is the back. Why did you switch over to MPO, you silly thing? The back nine. She took a bogey on 11 and then went birdie, 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 par, birdie, birdie, birdie. And Silva, honestly, I never felt comfortable with her lead almost until she got to 17. I'm like, all right, she's got 3 with 2 to go. She's probably okay here. She just has to throw a drive. One drive, that's all you need. And unfortunately, she kind of yanked the drive on 17, which is it's a big dogleg right. And she got in the swag. And then when she tried to get out, she threw a very poor forehand, which, as we know, isn't necessarily her strength, right into a clump of trees.
Yeah,
like a small, again, if I were her caddy, all I would be sitting there, all I would have sat is said, just avoid those trees. Just get out.
Maybe she didn't. Maybe her caddy never said such a thing.
Joey Tamale.
Yeah, he probably didn't even utter those words. Hey, avoid those trees right in front of you.
Honestly, though, sometimes you just need to have that talk. You just need to be like, okay, here's the deal. Like, what is your goal? What are you trying to accomplish with this shot?
I would assume that's what she was thinking.
The worst thing you can do is put yourself here, so try to avoid that. And she clearly didn't. She threw it into right behind the trees, couldn't get up and down on 17, ends up taking a bogey. Kristen hits a great putt, gets the birdie, and then just parks 18. Just absolutely under the pin. And then they go to, of all holes, hole 17 for the playoff. It's funny that the real short history between Kristen and Silva's playoff was Green Mountain last year, where she gave it away on 18, and then they had to go play it again. Mm-hmm. Here, she gives it away on 17 for the most part, and then they have to go play it again. It feels like the cards are kind of stacked against Silva in these playoffs. And on top of that, 17 completely favors a forehand righty. I have to designate because we're going to have a lefty on.
Yeah.
A lefty guess. It really does favor a right-hand forehanded thrower versus a backhand thrower because you get to get it around that corner. And Silva she let go of it a little early, and she didn't get up and down. So unfortunately, she ended up getting the par. Kristen throws the perfect forehand, the perfect shot, and is able to put herself in for a birdie on 17 to seal the deal. And that's really what it comes down to. Both these women played amazing all weekend. In fact, and we had a lot of women that played amazing this weekend.
We did, and of course, so much praise, deservedly so, for Silva and for Kristen. They, like you just said, both played great. Kristen gave the best possible interview on the planet. There's nothing I could ever add to that as to what she said and what others have said about how just winning so graciously, but still having that empathy and that understanding, being a fierce competitor, all well.
Because she's been in that position.
Exactly.
She's lost in a playoff.
Yeah, but Kristen is already also, I think, famous for having all the right words in every scenario. Win or loss, she seems to always have that introspection and those all the right words. that make her such a class athlete that she is. So really no surprise to see her say what she said. I can't imagine trying to come up with all of that and being ready to say those types of things like just so perfectly as she did. So it was, to echo what Kristen has said, and what the whole internet has already said, is just the fact that yes, Silva will get hers at some point.
I mean, she's
inevitable.
won. She won over in Europe.
Yeah,
she's
exactly.
got 2 or 3 Elite Series events already.
Yeah,
she just hasn't beaten Kristen, and B, she hasn't beaten Kristen in a playoff either. I mean. Yeah. I'm sure she'll take the straight up win over anything, but and that comes down to being young.
And just overcoming those hurdles and obstacles, which at some point she's going to do, or she's just going to go into the final 2 holes or 3 holes with like a 7-stroke lead someday. She won't have to worry about it.
That's the Holland Hanley way to do it.
That would be another way.
Chip away your lead.
Another way for her to go about it. And Tim, you really just hit on another great point, which is Kristen knows all the right words in her second language, which is even that much more impressive.
We have a hard time spinning them out in English.
Exactly. Considering how difficult it is for us to sometimes make sense in English when that's our native language. So it is so impressive. And one final point on that, which maybe we can touch on later, but another final point to Kristen, and of course the congratulations to her in reaching the 1,003 rating today.
Amazing.
Another new milestone, breaking her own records, as we've said. There was such a close fight to get there. Paige Pierce came up short, a year or 2 ago, and then Kristen has been making that charge. So to see her get to 1,000 and now break that and get herself to 1,003 is truly incredible. So congrats to her as well. And we'll see if Owen or Missy or Silva or someone can get to that threshold of 1,000 as well and join her. But
I don't know. What
we have now is he the greatest lefty of all time? We can give him that, I think, right now. Well, he's going to be on our show. So without further ado, the greatest lefty in all of disc golf. Hopefully he's ready to go. It looks like he is. Welcome to the show, one Austin Turner.
Let's go.
Yeah, buddy.
He's definitely the greatest lefty on tour right now.
Yes.
Listen, we've had this discussion, and I'm still giving it to Devin.
Okay.
Only until I win one.
Okay. And of course, talking about Devin Owens, who we haven't seen on the tour unless you're kind of old school or you hung out in either Oklahoma or Arizona in the last decade. But Devin Owens, certainly one of the greatest to ever play the game. And I mean, you had to have been like 12 when Devin was dominating, though, right?
And when I came on the scene in 2017 is when me and him became really good friends. And at the time, there was really just me, him, and Zach Melton. So we would have like this fake like traveling lefty trophy. Whoever shot the best that week would get the trophy.
Fair enough.
But yeah, I mean, Devin was shredding from like 2010 to, or even earlier than that, to like 2018, 2019.
Yeah, Devin has 43 wins. I just pulled up his stats. Out of 286 career events, he won an NT, which for all you young kids, that's the equivalent of an Elite Series back then, called King of the Lake in 2011. So he's got that one, we'll say, Elite Series win over you yet. But you're sneaking up, buddy. You're doing it. You're getting close.
Trying to.
Devin, and then also another, person in the conversation has to be Chris Clemens, who we've seen out there as well, grinding pretty hard for these last few years. But aside from the whole lefty debate, let's get up to speed. You've been on a journey, or in one way or another, in these last couple of years. And I met you very early on in your career, saw you at AM Worlds back in 2015. 2015.
Kalamazoo.
Yeah, AM Worlds.
I was there.
Yep, we were there filming it. It's all on the internet for everyone to watch. We've had you on even since then as well, talking about other performances. Where are you at in this journey that has that we'll call professional disc golf? Where do you feel like you're at right now?
Oh man. Yeah, it's I feel like at this point you could probably make a movie after what's happened in the last 7 years. Um I don't know. I'd say that where I am right now is probably the cleanest headspace I've ever been in. The best I feel physically. The best I'm playing maybe ever, and I think that's showing. Yeah, I mean, I'm just very happy with life. Everything's going great, and I can't complain.
When you talk about headspace and part of that journey, what have been some of the either struggles that you want to share or not? But what have been some of the things that have been either hurdles or obstacles or things you've overcome? And give us as many details as you do or don't wish to share. But what are some of those things?
Yeah, in end of 2018, some people know that my hips came out of place, and I couldn't. I did rehab for like a couple months in end of 2018 and 2019. I played the first two events, dropped out of both of them immediately, and got diagnosed with my hips coming out even worse than what they were. So if you could imagine, my hips were sticking out like an inch to almost 2 inches out of my body in the front, so they popped out and over rotated. So it took me about, I don't know, 10 months of rehab to get those back into place. And that was just from me being skinny, tall, no muscle, just playing on the concrete. People don't realize how bad the concrete is on your body for disc golf. And over time, it's just going to deteriorate yourself if you're not, making those muscle groups and just taking care of your body. So I did that. That was a pretty low spot in my life because I was on like a pretty good high from 2017 season. And I also had a lot of expectations, which I feel like kind of got to me a little bit with also that injury. And then 2019, I don't think I played really anything. And then 2020, obviously, COVID hit. Completely moved across the side of the world or the country, so to speak, in Arizona. And then 2021 was slow. I don't really remember too much from 2021.
Not a lot of people do. That was like just that whole COVID fog that we just kind of breeze over.
22, I think I traveled a little bit. I think I played maybe one Pro Tour event in 22.
No, you played a few of them in 2022.
Okay, so 21, I played one tour event, and that was Deagle. 22, I think that was when I went back to Discraft, or not back, but I got a pretty good deal from Discraft because I played well in 21. And then same thing, expectations, high, play, low, right? Same thing, 2023, switched sponsors, went to DGA because I wasn't reaching the goals that I wanted to, and I thought that maybe stepping down to a smaller, so to speak, company would benefit me in a way. And I had a good season until I snapped my right arm in half, which I think after that point, that was probably the lowest I think I've ever been in my life, mentally, physically.
How did you snap it? Thankfully for you, not your throwing arm, not that you can play without it, but what happened to your arm?
I mean, the story's been out for a long time. If y'all don't know, we missed the cut at Ledgestone one year. It happened at that tournament, and things happened. I started arm wrestling and sat my arm.
Wow.
Yep.
When you talk about these expectations, is that come from a competitive nature from within, from yourself, or do you feel like that's pressure from outside people or a sponsor? Where does some of those expectations and then whatever else associates it with it, where does that come from?
I think it's like a collection of everything, but it's mainly me just like putting pressure on myself. It's like from playing well in like previous years, it's like I want to keep building on that. So it's like, all right, well, I got 7th place of this tournament, And the next year I'm like, all right, well, we got 7th last year. What are we going to do this year? And then you look at it and I get 72nd place because I'm thinking too much about what I did the year before. Right. So it's like I did that a lot in probably about 3 seasons. It wasn't healthy for me. So that's kind of when I just completely try to change everything after breaking my arm and just trying to have a completely different mindset about just not just playing and but just life in general.
I was just going to say, with having these support networks, so many friends on the tour, but then not being able to tour and kind of bouncing back and forth. How does that relationship go with someone like Discraft, who you've, started, was there very early on for you? You've had a few different transitions. You're with Discraft now. What is that relationship like, and what kind of conversations do you guys have?
Yeah, I've known Bob since 2015. Bob and Mike since 2015. Two amazing guys. I remember going to Bowling Green AMs back when that tournament was all big in 2014, and I think I was on Innova at the time, and I was just talking to Bob. I'm like, hey, like, I live in Innova country, like South Carolina, North Carolina. That's Innova country. Everyone knows that. There was nobody throwing Discraft at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Only one going to I think it was Play It Again Sports and buying all the Discraft on the racks. And that's cool, And me and him just started talking, and 2015 was when I signed with them. Then I was there from 15 to 22, so I was there for 8 seasons with them. So I mean, I've been there longer than most people on the team now. I just grew such a good connection with both Mike and Bob just outside of disc golf as well. So I think that with also just what I was doing last year, all last year when I was in open bag, just making content.
Mm-hmm.
I think me making content completely changed how I see disc golf and how much I appreciate it, because it just took away all the pressure. It's like all I want to do is just go make content because it just makes me happy, and it makes me happy that other people find it enjoyable. So that's really what kind of changed everything for me mentally. But it also helps on a sponsorship standpoint too. They're like, well, this guy's making content, they're getting good views, he's making good videos, it helps.
What has that content making journey been like for you in terms of the highs, the lows, or has there been stuff where
the learning process?
Yeah, you worked really hard on something that you thought would hit, and then you're like, oh, that didn't get any views or whatever. What's that learning process been like for you?
Yeah, well, I work really close with Joseph over at Another Round.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of have a big team together for content ideas that we talk once a week, try to figure out what the algorithm is, try to hit it, try to figure out what could do well and what won't do well. I've definitely had videos where I try a shot for 7+ hours and don't hit anything, and
mm-hmm.
I'll just make a random dumb video of me putting, and it rolls away and it gets 200,000 views. It's like
what?
You just never know if you do well. But it's for me, the ace running is always fun. It's another form of field work for me. It's just more fun field work, right? So it's you can throw different lines to different holes, different speeds, different distances, just throwing crazy shots. And hopefully one goes in. If you do, you got a video, but it's just practice at the end of the day, which is why I love it.
Yeah, that is such a great way to look at it. But then my follow-up is you're super powerful and very talented, obviously. With even all that, what respect do you put on a Simon's trick shot videos or some of the stuff that we've seen come from him? How do you, I'll say, compare, for lack of a better term? What do you think about Simon's that in his heyday?
I don't think anyone's ever going to touch that kind of stuff. I mean, we're seeing a little bit of it from Randy Duick. He does some pretty crazy now. I asked him, dude, how do you get this creative? I would never think about doing some of the stuff that they've done. It's just crazy. But it's awesome. It's awesome to see. But yeah, I mean, I would love to get into dude perfect style stuff. I will say that AB and I did something today that's never been done ever, and it won't. And that video might be coming out tomorrow. So stay tuned.
And that's going to come out on your YouTube channel?
This is going to be on Instagram.
On Instagram, okay.
Okay. All right, SmashBoxx exclusive. Well, precursor that we're gonna see or hear something. Give us a hint as to the realm, and I mean, you're saying never been done before. That's a pretty big claim. So give us some kind of hint.
Let's say this: two massive warehouses, basket on one side, us on the other side, on top, on the roof, 50 feet in the air.
Huh. Okay. All right. Yeah. I'm definitely excited. Is there a community of collaboration to some degree? I know you said you just work with with Joseph and such, but we're seeing you, obviously you, AB with the channel, Parker Welk doing more with his channel. All these, Gannon and Alden, so many more people, Ricky, continuing to develop out their channels. Are you guys ever talking about, collabing, or is it kind of or is there a competition amongst you of, hey, I want to get this video and I want to get more views than so-and-so just did?
Really the collabs are between like AB asked me, Ezra will ask, or like Goss will ask. And it's like, really, it's like, I just want to do it with my close buddies and everything. I wouldn't really say there's a competition unless you're doing the YouTube. And then it's like, okay, you have to be the first person out to the course to post your practice round video, right? Because now like 10 people making a practice round video. It's like, you're not there to watch all 10 of the same course, right? So you got to pick and choose your favorite person to watch. And it's like, I think that's why I don't have the patience with the YouTube, because you have to get very creative with the YouTube disc golf, because it's such a small niche group. And I've talked to a lot of the people, and it's like the views are kind of dropping just a little bit on YouTube, but it's just the algorithm, you just got to find the right thing to do. And that's what's tough, but just got to keep brainstorming, keep trying new things.
Yeah, it's definitely all part of the game, and hence a full-time job for millions of people out there. And if you're doing it well and you're doing it right, you get compensated. But it's all a matter of also sticking with it. I think, just generically speaking, far too many people start channels with huge hopes and dreams. They only get a few hundred views for a year, and it's like, yeah, but your next video might be the one that's huge, and you just have to keep grinding, and you have to love it. Otherwise,
it's going to drive you crazy.
Yeah, it's going to drive you crazy, and you're not going to keep at it.
Have a good personality, good smile. You got to do something really cool. You got to make like a basket explode, or I don't know.
Ricky tried that. It didn't go very well.
Yeah. That commercial last year we did with the general. Something else that you're so passionate about and totally love and applaud and respect and everything else that you do for it is in terms of you guys on that, like the entire workout regimen. I mean, there's a handful of you. There's tons of people that work out and do an amazing job with it, but there's a handful of you that are on another level. And maybe just dive into what is that. Not the process. What does that do for you? What, being in the gym, whether it's with those other guys or not, what does that all do for you physically and mentally?
And did this stem from your injury? Because you said before you were tall and skinny. So was this kind of we'll say a remedy or a reason?
After I got hurt, I looked at it this way. No matter what kind of sport you're doing, you don't have to be super muscular, right? You don't have to be the most in shape. You just got to take care of your body. There's about 85% of disc golfers on the Pro Tour who are not doing that. And we see posts all the time. I can't play the Wacky Waddle Open this week because my wrist or my back hurts or my knee hurts. And I'm like, I wonder why. Because you're not taking care of yourself. We're out there just grinding, throwing discs constantly. This sport's not easy on the body. It is. I think I'd rather get tackled by Thomas Davis. I don't know, Nick Bosa. I'd rather get tackled by him and sit out there and throw discs for the next 30 years without taking care of yourself. It's pretty much the same thing. I believe that having a good workout regimen, whether it's you want to lift weights to get big, or if you just want to do something super explosive, or you just want to do like a lot of like, stretching. Just do something to just get your body moving. If throwing this is not easy on the body, just strengthen the pieces that we use the most, right? And I think a lot of people have seen that now it's like I don't get hurt at all anymore. If anything, I might get like a little pain in my elbow, but that's it. That goes away after a day. It's just from overuse. We play 6-7 rounds a week almost for these tournaments, and it does a lot on the body. So just let it rest one day, and it'll be fine. But guys like me, Ezra, Gavin Babcock, AB now, Adam's working out, Cupcake. It's like Goss is working out. There's a lot of people working out now, and you can kind of see the benefits from it, which is nice.
Yeah, it's we're seeing that shift. Obviously, it's more pronounced by some than others, but we're definitely seeing that shift of virtually no one, dare I say, old school, very few people ever took it that serious, to now we're seeing, a small group, and it continues to grow and sprawl and expand into more and more of you. And I'm sure there's plenty of people who may not even post about it or mention it whatsoever either. But that group of you guys at the gym, whether it's 10 p.m. or 2 a.m. or whatever, it's awesome to see. And it's somebody was posting just after, I don't know if it was Music City or in Austin, that same night. It was like, oh, gym session. I was like, that's obviously some hardcore dedication.
Well, it's like it's the same thing with like PGA golfers, right? It's like everyone's all shapes and sizes in the PGA, right? But if you watch them, they're training with all their like well-known trainers, elite trainers. Like they're just doing the right things to make sure that their body's working the best. And that's all you have to do at the end of the day. Whether it's, like I said, lifting heavy, just doing something simple, you just got to get the body moving, just strengthening those pieces that we use the most.
So it's a very male heavy sport, and roughly 93% of our athletes are on the male side. Does that mean we've got women fans out there? Are they coming after you guys? Is that a problem for you?
I would say no.
Okay.
He just said it's not a problem. He didn't say it's not happening. He just said it's not a problem.
That's true.
I'll tell you this: it happens to Ezra.
Yeah. Okay. I've seen Ezra out enjoying cities and places,
local flavors.
Yeah, he takes it all in, and it's
my girlfriend went to her first pro tournament last weekend.
Okay.
She enjoyed the crap out of it.
I was gonna say, like, what? I mean, terrible weather, crazy scenario, all this stuff going on, the stop, the restart, everything else. But if there was, maybe a sentence or two for her to summarize, what did she think of it? You said she enjoyed it, but like, what jumps out at her as kind of these fresh eyes to taking it in at that level?
Man, I don't know. She told me, she said, I never thought that this sport was like the way it is. She comes from a D1 soccer background. She's familiar, with sports and athletics and everything. She was very shocked, I guess, and surprised and just fascinated with how everything was going. She definitely didn't like the mud, I'll tell you that. But I think that was part of why I felt so relaxed last week, was just because just having her there, just looking back every time I threw a shot and she was there, just kind of made me feel, at peace and just super relaxed, and just made everything go smoothly.
I've said that before, that I think it's harder for a golfer. We've seen golfers lose their cool on the course. I think it's harder when your significant other is there. Like, for a couple of reasons. One, you don't want to, whether it's tradition or not, you don't want to show them that side of you in general, usually. Like, it's okay to be frustrated, but to lose your cool, probably not. And there is something calming about it, about having someone there that you can trust and rely on. And, I think there's pros and cons we've talked about.
Everyone's mental is different. So maybe having someone that can hurt them, but also, having someone like that there could also be very beneficial for them.
Yep.
I guess I have to follow up. If this incredible performance and finish here for you for the weekend, will she be along more? Is she on tour, or is this just it worked out time and place for this particular weekend?
Full-time job. Full-time job.
Okay, all right. So you just have to pretend like she's there next weekend.
It was close enough from home for her to hop in the car and head up there. So we had a blast.
Perfect. Third place, we kind of touched on it earlier. Very close to second.
Yeah, very consistent
were
overall for the weekend.
I'm sorry.
He was tied for second. Close to solo second.
Close to solo second is what I meant to say. Did you overthink or underthink? Were you at all nervous? Were you thinking about that on that final putt? I mean, unfortunately, it's one thing that sticks out in people's minds for how you closed out the event. But what were your thoughts?
No, Gannon just paid me $5,000 to miss it, so he could be number one.
He needed the points.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I was having grip issues all day, and I don't know if it was the towels or just the air, the mud, whatever. But if you saw me playing, I was just licking my fingers the entire time when I was going to putt. My thumb was just like super smooth, and I could not get a grip. So I think I had 2 or 3 putts just slip right out of my hand.
Okay.
I mean,
I don't put much on it. I mean,
no,
we're human, and you're under crazy conditions with a lot of things going on. Yeah, we expect our top pros to make those, but at the same time, like, it's still human under those elements, and there's a lot worse things that could have happened. I mean, you had a hell of a weekend, so that's getting nitpicky at that point of, oh, hey, you missed a putt on the shorter side, whoopee. But how does that podium finish feel? Tying Gannon, a couple off Niklas, and being in the hunt. How does that feel overall for your game?
Yeah, it was just nice to finally put a very consistent tournament together. I didn't really make any big mistakes. If I made mistakes, I came back immediately on the next hole and erased that mistake. I just kept it clean. I followed my game plan. I executed, which is the biggest thing, right? This course I felt like was very lefty friendly if I executed. And at the end of the day, that's all you have to do is execute. Doesn't matter how easy a course is for a lefty or a righty, you have to execute. And that's what I did. And I honestly think, that this was obviously my best finish ever on Pro Tour. But I've never been more proud of myself, just mentally and just physically, and just sticking with the game plan, actually executing and just seeing, my name at the top the whole time. It was awesome.
Did you have any difficulties at all with the schedule due to the rain, or because we see sometimes that players, and maybe you're a different situation, but some players are used to always playing at the same time. Like, I'm always playing in the afternoon at some point. This was kind of a toss-up, depending on what was going on in the rain. Did you have any issues with that at all?
I was honestly surprised that I started off as well as I did on Sunday morning, because I was flowing on Saturday right before they called it on the front 9. So I was pretty upset that I couldn't finish out that 9, because I didn't know what that morning was going to bring. And we literally got there and it was still raining from the day before. And I'm like, oh, great. Probably do over, ruin this round. Nope. We got there, got a good par on the first hole on 10. And I just pulled off 3 birdies in a row. And I'm like, well, I'm at 7 under already somehow. Well, that's nice. So I really just left off where I started. And I honestly thought that couldn't have gone any better. But that weather this weekend, it was tough. It really was. There was not one calm day. Not even in practice was a calm day. Everything was windy. It was wet, soupy. Man, it was a mess, but it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, you ended up walking away from the weekend considering all of the conditions, the possibilities of slips, and just overall grip and everything else. You had 1 bogey per round to have 3 on the weekend. I feel like somewhere that's got to be a little bit of a takeaway just in itself. right? There's so many chances to have a slip that could turn into a lot of terrible, over par strokes. So when it was all said and done, 3 bogeys on the weekend, not too bad.
Yeah, I have good shoes. Shout out the shoes.
All right. Well, that leads to a question I usually get to. We'll go right to it. Sponsorships, obviously sponsored by Discraft. Are there other sponsorships or needs that you have? If somebody's works at a store or a company or is a rep for someone right now that's watching or listening or wants to pass on the word, is there other support outside of your primary disc manufacturer? Is there other support that you're looking for or open to?
Oh, that I'm looking for. Man, I'm always open for anything. Honestly, it's like with the content creation that's been happening, I've been getting a lot of like outside companies reaching out to send product, do like little commercials for it on stories and stuff. Man, I don't know.
I mean, bags, shoes, outerwear, grip type equipment, hand grip equipment, sunglasses, hats, apparel, retail stores.
We already have the best hats on the market, I'll tell you that. Where are they at?
Yeah, what was that? Is that MADD that I saw this weekend between you and your girlfriend that we're wearing? Or your caddy? I don't know what I should call her.
These are Mad Disc. This is the dye company in Winston-Salem. These are my boys. We just started making hats. These are honestly the best golf hats I've ever worn. You can't ruin them. They're pretty much waterproof. And if they get muddy or dirty or sweaty, you just put some water on them and all the stains go away. Plus, I have amazing dyed discs, and we're doing a bunch of jerseys, apparel, all sorts of stuff.
Jerseys are the hot thing right now. It feels like almost every, especially with the Discraft crew, they all seem to be putting out jerseys. So
you gotta be repping your boys.
Yeah.
Looked at my closet. All I wear is AB jerseys.
I was just gonna say that. I feel like you're the walking ad and billboard for him and for a few other guys, and so it's time for you to get yours, and then make them wear yours.
We're working on them. We're working on them.
You're like, where'd you finish at Nashville? Yeah, put on my jersey, boy. I don't know. That's
left arm first, son.
Yeah,
left arm first.
Some of the trash talking I'd make sure to be doing out there. I love it. Looking at your year, nothing jumps out at me as, I'll say, out of the ordinary. We see Pro Tour events, KC Wide Open, Champions Cup by OTB, Cascade, Northwest Challenge, Preserve, Majestic, blah, blah, blah. Like all pretty much what I would expect, including registered for the European Festival, which is going to be just before the Pro Worlds. How strategic are you in that time off or that, time off to do whatever you want? How strategic have you been in your planning this year?
Pretty good for the most part. Last week I took a week off of throwing, which I haven't done that probably since I broke my arm. And that was a good just little mental cleanse as well. Went to the beach, Love the beach. One of my favorite places to go. But yeah, I mean, when I travel with AB and we kind of just go with the flow. If we want to do something, we'll just go do it. If we don't want to play disc golf that day, we won't play. If you want to go to the gym and sit in a hot tub and a cold plunge and a sauna and work out, we'll go do that,
With that being said, who's living a better life than you right now?
Probably LaMelo Ball.
Okay. Well, so the fact that you had to think about it that hard to then name someone of that stature seems like you're doing pretty damn good, and I absolutely love it. We got a request on the board here. We're trying to help you out. Doc is saying, can we see the back of the hat? He's picky about his strap on the back, so you put that. Hat. Yeah, the clasp, the back. I don't know. We're just trying to help the fans. Have you make a few more sales. That's what we're here for. Okay, so like a typical snapback.
Yep.
There you go. All right, Doc, go buy one. I was just out there. Maddisc.com. They get a free plug here tonight. Love it. Love it. Anything else we need to know before we let you go? I know you're gearing up and you're doing you're taking it all in after this weekend. Anything else that we should know about before we let you go tonight?
Fun lefty fact, I guess.
Okay, I'm here for it.
So I've been very nitpicky about all the lefty, like, what is it? Just like different like categories I want to break. And the highest rated lefty of all time, I think, was Clemens at 1034.
Sounds about
and
right.
I just said 1030. So I got one more update to be the highest of all time, which is cool for me. Just to be a little small.
Yeah, 1034 as of today, April 8th, 2025. Here's the time and date stamp. 1034 as of today. What will that mean to you? Let's just assume we fast forward a month or two. I'll make up a number and say you go to 1039. Shit, let's give you 1040. You go to 1040. What will that mean to you and to your career and to where you're at as a golfer?
Now, me breaking the lefty record, I'm not going to throw a big party for it, but
okay.
40, I think 1040 is that number that I think everyone wants to hit at least once in their life. Once you hit 1040, you're kind of like at that, like, say, elite level. It's very hard to shoot a 1040 rated round, let alone averaging that. But I am on the correct path right now, and I'm excited to see how the rest of the season goes.
I'll follow that up with if Nico worked really hard, as he always does, but worked really hard throwing exclusively lefty drives, what could he get to? He's not getting to 1040, and he's not beating you with just his left hand, but what knowing the fierce competitor he is, what rating could he get to being a lefty driver and approacher?
The fact that he birdied 17 at Waco was also, I will applaud him for that one. I could see him potentially getting like 975.
Okay, which still beats most of your local pros, right? Like that's
only driving though. I haven't really seen his putt, but with driving what it is now, I feel like he could get to 975.
Okay, I think that's still impressive. What?
Go
ahead.
I feel like that's pretty realistic for him if he wanted to do that.
I totally do too. I mean, I know his dedication and his athleticism, and that wouldn't surprise me whatsoever if he got to that number. So it's funny to hear you say that, and it seems very appropriate. This is a really random one since we're talking lefties though, and it came off the board somewhat. What is your least favorite hole that we would all know, but your least favorite hole as a left-handed thrower? I love the grin.
The first one that comes to mind is Maple Hill 14.
Ah, fair.
I mean, I have the sidearm for it, but man, that is one scary shot. There's so many. There's so many that I just can't, because listen. I can't tell you how nice it was to hear all the right players complain this past weekend, saying, "Oh, my elbow hurts because I threw too many sidearms." I'm like, welcome to our life. We do this. This is my one time. Let me have it. All right.
Fair. No, I love it. Johnny and I are good friends with a lefty here in who's been a PDGA member for 30 years plus, and he always is complaining about how we take it for granted, and we probably do. I'm sure we're a little privileged and a little blind to just how righty favorable many courses are. So the follow-up to that is, after having this experience at Mill Ridge, what's the next course that you are kind of licking your chops and you're thinking, that one feels really attackable as well, due to the angles? Is there another one even?
To be honest with you, I feel like that it could be any course.
Okay.
Um, I think the one that really stands out the most right now is probably D-Glow. I've always played pretty well at D-Glow. But like I said, it's like it doesn't matter what kind of course it is. If you have the right tools, you just need to execute at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, let's be real. One of the greatest of all times in Kale Leviska doesn't throw a forehand. James Conrad's won a Worlds without a forehand. Ken Climo.
Isaac Robinson.
Clearly,
back-to-back,
Isaac Robinson, right? So, I mean, at the end of the day, you have to go out with whatever your tools are and make the most of it. And no one really cares about how it's set up or what the excuses are. You just got to go out and execute. Find your way to execute whatever that looks like. So I love it. All right, Austin, now's your chance. Any final shout outs or praises or recognition, sponsors, you name it. The floor is yours. Shout anyone out before we let you go.
Oh, he got froze up.
We made him nervous with that one, with the easiest question of the night. I'm guessing his phone died. If I had to guess,
probably.
I'm going to say that his phone died.
We're going to thank Mad Discs.
Yep.
We're going to thank
Discraft. And we're going to thank Another Round. Off the top of my head, that's who I think he would want to make sure that we get fed in there. So
yeah,
those all seem appropriate. If he's got more,
if he pops back on, we'll bring him on. Otherwise,
we could close him out.
Yeah, otherwise it'll be okay.
So nonetheless, thank you to Austin Turner for joining us. He was on the show back in March 22nd of 2016 is what I think I was last noticing.
Oh, so that was before. Oh no, never mind. I was thinking 2017.
Yeah, 2016. And that was shortly after he had won, speaking of Ken Climo, he had beat Ken Climo in taking down the Throw Down the Mountain.
That's right, one of the events that
many of you know that event, know the history, Yeah, he beat Climo, among a few others, at Throw Down the Mountain, and we had him on at that point, and that was March 22nd of 2016. So,
episode 81.
81. Just like 470-ish episodes ago, 471 episodes ago.
See,
just like yesterday. something like that. So congrats again to Austin Turner for an incredible weekend, and hopefully we'll be talking to him even more.
Well, yeah, he's finished 9th place at the Supreme Flight, and then 30th and 24th at the next two DGPT events, and then obviously tied for second here this weekend. So off to a pretty solid start.
I was going to say, where does that, obviously the 9th and the 2nd really help out, but I wonder where that puts him in the DGPT point standings at this point in the year. Excuse me, I think I'm just a click or two away. I might be able to find it for you guys, possibly. Turner.
He's a little ways down.
He's in 10th.
Yeah.
Currently in 10th with 286 points. He's ahead of Isaac Robinson and ahead of Ricky Wysocki and Simon Lizotte, as well as Chris Dickerson. So he's ahead of all of those gentlemen.
Amazing ahead of Ricky.
You said it earlier that Gannon Burr, who has not notched a win, but has finished 12th, 5th, 3rd, and 2nd. So he's trending in the right direction. Gannon Burr currently leads the tour over Adam Hammis and then Ezra Robinson. So Onslaught clearly making a significant charge. He's gone 45th, 19th, 1st, and 1st. I'm
honestly a little surprised Adam Hammis isn't in first place right now. I know he was earlier, but just he hasn't missed the top 10 yet.
Yeah.
So a 9th, a 1st, a 6th, and a 10th. It just shows you how good Gannon has been on
12,
a
5,
bad
3,
knee,
2.
nonetheless.
Yeah.
He wasn't sure if he was going to play this weekend and ended up wearing a knee brace. And turns out he said he had heard something pop in his knee, which is probably not good.
There's another knee popping off. It's knee gloss. Right? Did you see what I did there?
I see what you did
there.
Knee
gloss is popping off.
I see what you did there, Terry.
Is he going to be okay? Is the question.
I'm not
Gannon, getting back on track. Is Gannon? Do you think he's?
Apparently, it's an LCL sprain.
Ugh.
So not bad,
but not good.
But clearly you don't want it. But as Austin had said about, just the wear and tear this is on your body, constantly on the concrete. You're constantly doing, twisting motions. Gannon isn't, he's young, and he isn't kind of one of these like workout guys, as far as we can tell.
Yeah, he did some. He's done some.
He's
talked about it, but he's clearly not.
He's not hitting the gym like some of these other guys, and he probably will. He's also, like I said, he's also young and skinny. Like that just comes with being young. You know, Austin Turner is like 24, probably 25 ish, and you just when you get into your early 20s, that's when you can start to like really naturally build. You can build earlier than that with a little bit of help and a lot of time in the gym, but ultimately if you don't want to go through some of that extra stuff, your 20s are when you start to fill out.
I did plenty of that.
I know you did.
Actually, it wasn't until later. It doesn't matter.
You were a late bloomer.
Yeah, something like that. Something like that. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I need to join those guys at the gym.
Probably, yeah. I was really good about the gym for like 2 to 3 months. I was good for about 3 months, and then the gym membership I had expired.
Oh, well.
And I just haven't gone back yet. I really do want to. I just haven't made an effort.
I think it's their fault.
I've been busy with other things, but there's always time if I want to make it. I do know that. So it's more on me than anybody else. But still. All right, let's talk about I guess the other MCO news was the small protest on day one from Abigail.
Yeah.
Who was on the same card as Natalie Ryan and went up to hole one, did a few practice swings, and then turned around, walked off hole one's platform, and more or less made a statement saying something along the lines of, I'm not going to play.
Yeah.
And it's because of Natalie, the transgender issue, so to speak.
Yeah. They've put out statements that are posted, of course, as a explanation as to this weekend, and then also continuing to clarify policy and procedure moving forward. I'm actually going to link to it right now in the chat just so it's always there, just in case anybody does want to see it. I honestly did not see this until earlier today. Not the posting. I'm sorry. Of course, I saw what took place this weekend. Mm-hmm. I did not see the actual posting. I wish I would have had more time to read up on it word for word, but it does talk about how things came to be this weekend, in that Abigail Wilson had asked to be moved to a different card because during the first round pairing, she was on the card with Natalie, and she had been asked to be moved, and that request was not granted to her. She had cited, concerns for safety and everything else. And ultimately the Pro Tour said, hey, our policy has been, we have 2 feature cards. This is on the MPO and FPO side. We typically have 2 feature cards. The rest of the cards, per PDGA regulations, the rest of the cards are randomly assembled and then put together outside of the feature cards. And so therefore her request was not granted to be moved to a different card. As you just mentioned, she stepped up to hole one and then ultimately walked off in protest and declared as such. Obviously, this is very much dominating most of the news cycle, locally, nationally, internationally. I believe even today I saw as much as a newspaper in Estonia or some type of coverage in Estonia had I don't know if covered or referenced this happening this weekend, was also even reached there. This comes on the heels or at the same time as there was a protest that took place in fencing in the last couple of weeks.
Yep.
And then that's what I think helped spark or solidify the segment that was done on John Oliver's show on last week tonight. Is that what it's called? Last week tonight, which then referenced had literally made a post or referenced a quote and a tweet from Ella Hansen from a few years ago. I guess they had reached out to Ella about making that about using that tweet. Nonetheless, there was an entire conversation. This is a minor side note. If you took that episode that was on Sunday night, and you pushed it back 1 week, I think the Music City and disc golf would have been even a higher brighter light shined on disc golf. They reference disc golf as one of the sports that is having this conversation.
Well, we make up like of the, I think they said 900 incidents or something.
Yeah,
there's a whole stat you can look into, but we make up like 10% of them. 10 to 15% disc golf does.
Of course. And so I guess my point is just from simply from a timing perspective, that this weekend in Nashville had happened. They already had that show written. If that show goes off a week later, I think there's a much greater response / example made of what happened in Nashville. So I guess my whole point to that is this is definitely gaining and has gained local, national, international news throughout. And you can love or hate John Oliver's show. That's not even really my point. The point is, though, it's very much out there in main mass media.
It did feel like it kind of died down a little bit, the everything since the election, that it hasn't been as forefront in the news, but it's never gone. And it's going to continue. Things are going to spark every few months. I guarantee it. As long as Natalie's playing, there'll be somebody unhappy, and there'll be other sports, like you said, fencing and bicycling, mountain biking, things like that. These are all ones that have just been kind of in the news that I've seen recently. So,
yeah, and I think there's a lot of confusion as well. And it was made, I know there's a lot of confusion that clearly has hit, whether it's Reddit or Twitter or Facebook or everywhere else you may look. There's a lot of confusion as to what has been signed for an executive order or some things that have been either proposed or passed or otherwise that do not strike a direct impact on disc golf. And I think that's probably one of the biggest confusions. I saw it posted again today of someone saying, hey, this executive order should have fixed that, right? That's one of 1,000 times I've seen that posted, which all that does to me is just proves that everyone's not on the same page in terms of where things stand. Clearly not everyone's on the same page about how they feel about it either, but even just where it's shaking out. I'll speak for myself. I'll say I fully support and understand protesting on any and all sides.
Peaceful.
Everyone absolutely has the right to protest in whatever peaceful way that they see. Abby took this chance on this particular weekend to make her statement. I can support her in doing so. I kind of, at the end of the day, I still lean into what I've tried to say for a few years now, which is it has to start with the organization and what the rules are and what govern our organization and or the rules of play. And as the rules and everything that's written now, that's what is allowing us to have transgender competitors that are playing. You may love or hate that, and I completely understand those arguments, right? Everyone has their own opinion and can love or hate that. As of right now, though, that's the way that it was determined after they've been to court. And the part of the agreement that was made from Natalie, along with the lawyers from the Pro Tour and from the PDGA, was that Natalie and other transgender competitors would be allowed to play in the 2024 and 2025 season. With that being said, I don't know if there's any amount of protesting or yelling that will change any of that.
Not this year.
Because that's what was agreed upon last year as part of the overall proceedings.
I sigh because I just thought in my head, like, come October, things are going to get gross. Things are going to get bad. If the agreement was last year and this year, that means at the end of this year, we're going to see some very opinionated things.
Well, yeah, and I don't think that's ever going to go away. And
no, I don't think so. I know what it was like a year or so ago, and I feel like it's probably just going to be worse, but online at least. So anyway, that's just me projecting into the future.
I guess my take is right now with where the rules are, and I completely understand disagreeing with the rules. I can understand if you agree with them or disagree with them and you want to protest or not protest. I get all of that. I absolutely do understand it. But as of right now, I don't believe any amount of protesting or yelling or screaming is going to change what's currently in place for this year.
Correct.
Not to say you don't want your voice heard and that people shouldn't be voicing their opinion. And I'm not suggesting there can't be protests by any means. I'm just saying that outside of the making more awareness, which maybe is the overall intended outcome that you're looking for, it's not going to change this year. That's my whole takeaway. And I understand you may hate that, but it's not going to change this year, no matter what's done at any level. And I think that's the biggest disconnect overall.
I just think
that people feel
just don't know. Probably people don't realize what the agreement was, which is why we're seeing. Not why we're seeing some of this, because like you said, we're going to see it anyway. There are people, but I think that you're going to that people just don't realize that it no matter what they do this year is just you cannot change it.
Well, let me just be more official than even me rambling on there.
Oh gosh, why do we have to be official?
I'm going to read directly from the Pro Tours page as part of the link that I also just posted. It says it goes on to talk about it. 24-25 seasons, the tour made a statement. And then it says, thus, the updated policy is still in effect today, and no executive orders, laws, or other rulings have displaced the settlement or the PDGA since. Specifically, the Disc Golf Pro Tour currently operates under C.2 criterion of the PDGA policy, which is viewed here. The Pro Tour will follow all local, state, and federal laws pertaining to this topic until there is a clear precedent set via federal law or other applicable statutes. The DGPT remains focused on the compliance with the current laws in place in the jurisdictions where the DGPT events are hosted. The sport of disc golf cannot bear the weight of adjudicating this issue on a national or international level at this time. Further development on this policy will likely be derived from changes to IOC policy, state, and federal law. So, I hear you. I see all sides of the argument, but right now, that's where the policy is.
And the minute you get official, Brian Kilgore throws us a $20 super chat. Thank you, Brian.
Oh,
the super chat's not broken.
Heyo. Well, thank you, Brian.
Much appreciated. Hold on, I'll gamble that right away right now.
Well, Brian, we already bet. There was a bet if we were going to get a super chat or not. That's on the pick'em. So, no, seriously though, appreciate it, Brian. Thank you. My final thought would be everyone can have their thoughts and opinions, and I just hope, as I think I've said plenty of other times here, hopefully we can all find a way to get along and be peaceful. And if you want to disagree with someone, there's ways to politely disagree with people in any capacity, no matter who they are.
And Doc Zen throws us $5 and says, when done, can we do a segment on tournaments JVD is playing this year?
Dang, wow.
So far, 2.
I mean, there's Austin Turner's schedule, and then there's Johnny V's schedule.
I mean, it's pretty close, but way different. I'm playing Standing Rocks right now, and I'm signed up for Northwoods Open. So those are the 2 that I have on my schedule right now until my life is crazy busy until basically mid-May, where every weekend is taken up. So May to June-ish. So we'll, as far as other things.
Speaking of schedules, you know what schedule got effed up this weekend?
What schedule?
Match play.
It did. We did not get the match play event because of the rain. Damn you, rain. Damn you. Correct. They did say they would reschedule it, though. It's going to be moved. I forget where it was going to be moved to.
I don't know if they fully stated it yet, but I
thought they announced.
I did reach out. Maybe they did. I reached out, though, because I was genuinely curious as to what that might look like. And basically, they are going to attempt, I think, to make up a few of the matches starting as early possibly as Kansas City. Now, take all of this with a huge grain of salt.
That's what I heard, Kansas City.
Because there's a lot of moving parts here. And I think it was Jeff Spring who specifically had said at one point, a lot of these matchups had to take into account some of the players' schedules in the first place. Mm-hmm. You're not going to have Kristen going up against anyone at the KC Wide Open because Kristen won't be at the KC Wide Open. So that's where some of the scheduling from the very initial match play outlook was taking those things into account. So now, after everyone's planned on everything for the year and where they're going to be playing and where they're going to be matching up with people, now you have to toss some of that out the window because some of these initial matches haven't yet taken place. So I just wanted to say that they are, of course, working on it. And they also said that you can look for more information on from the tour on this soon. They are looking at Kansas City as a good option to start making up some of the matches that they missed due to weather. And then also just reiterating, of course, they made the right decision in not trying to send people out. And they were concerned about player safety, course conditions,
you heard
equipment, all of the above.
You heard Holland Hanley say on one of her walk-in talks that they actually took shelter in a hospital at one point because they were getting, tornadoes, touchdowns nearby. So what they did, they decided to just hunker down in, I think, the lobby of a hospital because it was such a big and secure building. And it was a dangerous situation in some of those areas. So good for them. I'm glad everyone was safe. We all made it out. We avoided some pretty significant weather that was just north of them. But
yeah,
the match play suffered because of it.
So they are working on it. I can already imagine like the delicate and difficult scheduling that it'll be, because you're going to have certain people that are flat out at an event or not planning on being at an event or whatever the case might be. And that's what's going to complicate things even more, but hopefully they'll get it all figured out. So I wanted to report on that and carry that forward. Just taking a quick look at some of the notes I made. We've, of course, talked about Kristen getting to the 1,003 rating. Also then notches yet another win on to get to 101 wins. We talked all about the collegiates and then also rescheduling of match play and how broke you are from the sports betting. So those are some of my notes. All right, well, we're going to wrap up the regular show here. And then when we get into the after show, we're going to have a giveaway, of course.
We will.
And then we'll also be able to talk about things maybe on or off a disc golf course.
Both.
We'll have both. Oh, my gosh. We'll also check back in with the Super Chat and all our favorite friends over there and what's going on. It's the best place to hang out, I heard. Going to thank Austin Turner for joining us. Congrats on the tie for second this weekend. Future looks pretty bright there for Austin. Seems to be in a great headspace, definitely in a great physical space and ready to go and attack the rest of the year. It's great to hear from him and see what else he can do. For Johnny V, I'm the Disc Golf Guy. That's been Podcast 552's regular show. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have the after show. We'll see you then when you step inside the Smashbox.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits. If you are interested in being listed as a producer in the SmashBoxxTV credits and supporting this and other fine podcasts, please visit patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to SmashBoxxTV Podcast 552's After Show.
Do you think it's unfair
Probably.
that Austin Turner automatically basically gets a group of fans just because he's lefty? Like, there's a bunch, like
he hardly has to work for that.
He barely has to work for that. He doesn't have to try too hard. He just has a built-in fan base. Just, because I throw with the wrong hand.
But let's ask, if where's that threshold? Where do you start getting those? Because if he's 992, the fan base isn't as large, right?
Well, of course not, but it's still
a fan base,
it's still
right?
a fan base. You still all get an automatic fan base. It's just not fair. And it doesn't help, it doesn't hurt that he's like in really good shape, young, and probably pretty good looking. Other than that, though, not fair.
Those lefty leaning SOBs.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, I'll say this.
Do you think there's lefty groupies?
Probably. I mean, if you scour the internet, you can find anything.
That's true.
You just got to know where to look.
I am not going to look that up.
Which corner of the internet?
I refuse to look that up, Terry
I'm
Miller.
sure somebody on our board can tell us. You're one of them. Yeah. I'll say for all of the injustice he probably gets on the course in terms of design, it's probably fair that he gets that built-in fan base.
Fine.
That I don't know if that's a fair trade-off entirely. If it's an equal trade-off, but it might be a trade-off nonetheless.
Okay. I mean, I'll give him it. It's fine.
Like he said, and we've all seen, his forehand's pretty damn good as well.
It's
like if you forced him to throw exclusively forehands on every hole, he'd still be okay.
Probably. Like a 975? Like when he threw at Nico there?
Possibly. All right. Doc, going back to the hats that were shown off, we had Austin on the show. So just not a fan of the plastic straps on hats. Might be an allergy issue. I'm not sure. So Doc may not be on board with picking up one of those hats.
Because I did see both him and his caddy rocking them this weekend.
Oh yeah, and
I hadn't seen that before, and I was like, "What is that?" And I honestly didn't know because they never got close enough. I could just see the MAD, M-A-D-D, and I didn't know what was under it. So,
yeah, and not to be confused, and someone else in the news, as we talked about in the regular show, but Abby Wilson, I think, has a few of the photos that are out there that have circulated now that she's very much in the news of her wearing a Mando, which I believe is a Madison, Wisconsin-based company.
Well, she is from Wisconsin.
So, exactly. So,
and we don't really know her.
No.
She's relatively young, and we haven't been on the local scene in a while.
No. She has not played in, oftentimes, especially when I used to run a lot more events, oftentimes anyone that's come through the scene I see at one time or another as someone that competes in a tournament that I'm running. And with me only running 1 or 2 events a year, and with the explosion that we've seen in the sport, she has not participated in anything that I have hosted. So, and she's obviously newer to the sport overall. All right, reading on the board. If you're new here somehow, I can't imagine anyone is, but if you are new here, it's the after show where we'll talk about anything golf or non-golf related. I know you had big money on the game last night. The basketballs.
I did hear that Florida won. They beat the Auburns.
Auburns?
Yeah, the fighting Aubies.
Is that what it is? So needless to say, no skin in the game.
No, I don't know. No,
okay.
I don't know squat about college basketball. I don't know. I didn't do any gambling. What I will say, I think that this is a projection.
Oh, gosh.
I think March Madness in the next 10 to 20 years
sells out.
No, is actually going to be less interesting because of a lot of the NIL and that type of thing. I think you're going to see these players that and granted, we've seen this before where a lot of people were complaining about the one and dones, where you go to college for 1 year and you kind of go to classes, but you're in basketball, you're in the program just to get into the NBA because they were forced to. I just think that with a lot of the bigger colleges now, they're going to be able to pull in some of the best names because they've got the most money and the transfer portals. I think your top talent is going to start to coalesce, and you're going to see less of the upsets that people love to see. You're going to see more, like again this year. All 4 number 1 seeds made the finals, I believe.
Yeah, for the first time
since 2008.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah.
I thought it was even longer than that.
Maybe it was 2007, but one of those. I think that happened in 2007, 2008. I just think that's what we're going to see more of over the next 10 to 15, 20 years, which in general, I think will draw less interest from people because people like the upset. So, yeah, that's just my guess. That's a total random. Was I right with 2008?
Yeah, it is. There's only been 2 Final Fours in which all 4 of the top seeds of the field made it, 2005 and 2008. For some reason, I thought I must have misheard somebody say something about it being 50 or 60 years or something like that, or it's been even longer.
2008 was 50 years ago, Terry. Did you know that?
That's what it feels like at this point. Yeah. Money, man. It's changing people.
Speaking of money, give us money. No,
yeah. So, Tim, to ask us, or maybe you're asking the rest of the board, which is far more in tune, as to whether that was a Houston choke or Florida clutch. You're asking the wrong guys.
Couldn't tell you. I didn't watch it.
We couldn't possibly know less about it. Doc says, Johnny, hate to disagree, but I feel like a lot of the standout players will go to local or smaller colleges to get more of a chance to stand out.
I think it depends on the money.
I was just going to say, are they going to get paid there, though?
If you're going to get paid the same, sure. If you can go to a local college and still make $2 million, then maybe. But if you're going to go to Florida State and make $2 million or $3 million or $4 million on NIL deals in a bigger city where there's more option for advertising, I would, as a parent, I know what I would direct my kid to do. Like, yeah, you go get yourself that cash, kid. I don't know. And again, maybe I'm wrong because I heard some people say, well, because, these colleges are only going to have so much money, they'll be able to spread it out more. So kids will be able to go to more colleges. Maybe I'm looking at it wrong. I just feel like this is going to be probably a trend. And check back in with us on podcast 1000 and we'll find out.
Then we'll know that much more. Other pop-ish culture things going on outside of sports. When are you going to the latest breakout movie?
Which one?
Minecraft.
My son went to that today.
Okay, and what was the report? As my daughter and her friends went to it today.
Oh, did they?
But I dropped them off on my way here.
Oh,
so I haven't gotten the update.
My son had pre-ACTs today.
Okay,
which we never took. I don't know. Never took a pre.
Yeah, my daughter test. I think had that today too. My other daughter
could be. I think it's maybe like a statewide. They also they had pre-ACTs and they had some other Wisconsin test today. But whatever. Okay. And so then he was all excited because he's like, yeah, we're gonna go at like 1:00 or 1:30. It was him and 5 of his like best buds.
Mm-hmm.
And they knew what they were getting into. Let me say that. He already had expectations. And so I saw him today before I dropped him off at his after school activity, his robotics thing. And I said, so how was the movie? And he goes, it was as bad as I expected. He's like, it was fun kind of. He's like, it wasn't good. So very much if you know Minecraft, you'll probably get, even he said, he's like, the story was a little confusing is what he told me. So I was like, all right, whatever. He's like, yeah, it's not a great movie, but whatever.
Yeah. When I did, when I was driving earlier today, I did a simple search with my Meta glasses that I was wearing at the time. And I was like, well, rather than trying to type this in while I'm driving, I'll just use my glasses. I asked about it and very mixed reviews is what it told me. Also saying this storyline sucked in so many words and was terrible. Mm-hmm. So that fits exactly what your son was saying.
As I've heard I've never played a second of Minecraft in my life.
Either have I.
Not even like having fun with my kid or whatever. Like it just never crossed my path. But it would have made more sense to me for this to be kind of more like an animated movie, like the Lego movie, seeing as how it looks like freaking Legos. So to me, that would have made more sense. Sure, still get Jack Black to do the voice and Jason Momoa and whoever else is in that damn movie. But I don't know. And again, I'm not the audience they are shooting for. I don't believe they thought they were going to get 40-plus-year-old men in there. They're going to get people like my son and your daughter. And I don't know, did your daughter really ever play Minecraft?
She didn't really too much. She's at least familiar with it.
Of course.
And that was the discussion within the group as to, as to who had played and who didn't, and they had certain references. And then
I think all the kids know the references just because it's so prevalent in their
in their ecosystem.
Yeah.
Something else I didn't know of, I think this kind of is at least a tangent to what we're talking about. I saw a store today on my way here that's in Brookfield, a suburb between the two of us, that I've never seen before, and it's called Bricks and Minifigs.
Yeah, I think there's one like a mile away from here in that little strip mall.
So is that's just that's their...
That's an all basic. I don't say all Lego because I think they do have they have other games and stuff there. But yes, it's more or less a Lego store. You buy Lego sets.
But they're getting around Lego by saying bricks and mini figs, as in mini figures.
Mini figurines, the little people.
Okay, interesting. I've never seen it before, and I happened to come across it today on the way here. Yeah. And as you're saying, there's looks like 4 or 5 locations around the Milwaukee area.
Yeah. There's literally, like I said, literally one, I think a mile right next to my wife's work.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
Right there it is.
It's just down the road. If you just point,
it's
right
direction.
It's right over there. Yes. So I actually I almost go by that as well on my way here. But anyway, I'd never seen it.
We were trying to get my son a job there about a year ago, and we were talking how, because they're next door neighbors with my wife and to my wife's job, we were chatting. And he loves Legos. He's into all the engineering, and it would be a perfect job. They just don't have enough business for another employee.
Yeah.
And so I was like, this is great. It's just didn't work out yet.
So I guess my question is, though, and this is maybe where I'm a little more naive to it, is it exclusively Legos in there, or are there other quote unquote competing bricks?
I don't know. Maybe like Duplos?
Yeah, or other packages that they're selling in there.
I bet you there's maybe some off-brand.
You would have to, because I guess there's 1 million sets of them and variations. I don't know. It's just really interesting. I'd never seen or heard of the store. Clearly, that's not also part of the of something that either I or my 2 daughters have been into. But it jumped out at me today, and I assumed you'd heard of it, and I can only assume Gannon Burr has stock in the company.
He probably does.
or should.
A DGPT Lego set would be sweet, says Glenn. But what would we build? Like
stuff for a course, right?
Like would you have like a table, like maybe almost the size of what our table is here? Let's say 2.5 by 2.5 or 3 by 3, depending. 2.5 by 2.5 of this table. Like a course?
I don't know, but I'd love to see people fight over what materials should go on a T-pad. Like, no, you don't use this one. You got to use this grass or whatever.
Does Austin Turner make his course look different than everybody else? He's like, no, they all go this way, whether you like it or not.
Exactly. I wonder, and I'm sure a Google search would get us there, but I wonder what you're talking about for a minimum order to get custom.
You can't.
Oh.
They actually, every year, I think, they vote on new sets. Like, they have these certain sets that they know they're doing, of course, but you can I think they put out like 10 sets that you get to vote on, and then they will make those sets. Like, I think one year it was like Ghostbusters.
Sure.
So you made the Ecto 1 or whatever it was. But you can't, I don't believe you can just call them up and be like, hey, we got 25,000 people that are going to buy this.
Well, and that's my question is like, what would the minimum purchase order, so to speak, or commitment level have to be for them to move forward? I know they're not just going to say, oh, we've got interest, but like if somebody called, ring, hi, Lego, yeah, I've got $1 million purchase order ready to go to make a Frisbee golf set. Like, does $1 million even get them to answer that phone call, or 10 million? That's what I
10 million maybe. I don't know about $1 million.
I have no idea.
And as I think we've talked about this with Gannon, there are people that go out and do custom sets.
Of course,
you can create a custom set, have it, log every single brick that's in there. Have people then go out and order the sets and look at your assembly instructions. There are computer programs and apps that actually will do this for you. That'll make some of this stuff for you. So,
see, why am I asking you anything? Doc Zen's got all the answer.
I'm sure he does.
He says on the board, Terry, 250 sets. They do them for businesses.
How big are those
businesses?
No, how big are the sets? Is what I'm curious. Like, it's like, is it like 250 100-piece sets where they can do them custom, or are we talking like large size Eiffel Tower type sets? I don't know. That's a good question.
Doc will get us the answers because that's what our board is good for. Getting us answers so we can sit here like idiots and just ponder things.
That's what we do.
And then smarter people can provide all our answers.
Yeah, that's what we have. People.
That's how you run.
That's why smart people listen to us so they can answer our questions.
They're like, they get such satisfaction. So yeah, exactly. The satisfaction of answering all of our stupid questions. We're just here to make you guys feel better about yourselves because we just ponder and we're stupid heads.
So
100 to 5,000.
Oh, wow. Lego player packs.
Yeah.
We've seen Lego trophies in the past.
Yep.
There's a local guy here who's done them, and we've seen them in other places as well that do some really cool Lego trophies. But
we gonna get in trouble for saying the word Lego here on air?
No.
Okay. Whew.
It's not like we said Olympics or something. Or Super Bowl. Jeez. Robotics update.
Yes.
You called me on Sunday when I was at the local arena here in Milwaukee. Actually, it wasn't the arena. We were at the State Fairgrounds.
Which in Milwaukee County or Milwaukee is pretty large. I guess most State Fairgrounds are.
It was, and I was very unhappy with how they set everything up there as far as logistics, like just the bleachers and where the field was. They could have fit so many more people in there better, because there were a lot of chairs that were ground level, which does you no good when the walls are like 4 to 5 feet high for these robots, so you can't see anything.
Oh, sure.
And so you're just going there just to watch the video board anyway. Anyway, it's like going to a Taylor Swift concert and being at the very back. You're just probably watching the video screen anyway. But the good news was that we were ranked at the end of regulation, I believe in 4th out of 40 teams in the state.
These are exclusive to Wisconsin.
Not exclusive. It's Midwest. So there was like 2 or 3 Illinois teams. I think there was 1 Minnesota team. But for the most part, it's mostly Wisconsin teams.
Okay.
And the way it works, I think I've explained this before, the top 8 teams get to draft other teams. Or the top team, I mean, you have a pick of anyone. You can ask anyone you want. The number 1 team could ask the number 2 team. And so we were the 3rd or 4th. So the number 1 team in the state is Marquette, which is a private school here in Milwaukee. And they had the best robot there, barely, I would say, over us. And so they got to pick first, and the very first thing they did was ask Nicolay if they want to be on the same team. And so Nicolay was like, yes. Because it's more or less what happened last year as well. Even though Nicolay last year, where my son goes, they weren't ranked quite as high. They didn't have quite as good of a robot. I think they were like 11th or 12th or something, but Marquette asked him anyway. So they asked him
again. And by asking, are they joining forces?
Yes. So their team says, because the way these robot competitions go, you get in a team of 3. So it's a snake draft. So the top 8 teams, pick all the way down for your second team, and then they reverse order back up for the third team. And so Nicolay was like, sure, we'll do that. You had 2 of the top scoring teams suddenly against everybody else. And then their third team, what they decided to do is they picked what they call a defensive robot. A robot that really just runs over to the other side of the board and just gets in the other team's way, slow them down. And Nicolay and Marquette, other teams were not playing defense and were scoring about 150 points. We were playing defense, so down 1 robot, and the teams were the Nicolay and Marquette team was scoring over 200 points. So just they literally walked through the field of all these other teams, which I almost felt bad for some of these other teams. When you see, it'd be like going to your local doubles and watching suddenly, Ricky and Paul got paired up against me and this other guy. Like, yeah, sure, we're decent players, but we're not playing. That's kind of how it felt. Like, it honestly just was. It was fun for the kids. A lot of kids had fun, and the team.
Well, winning is always fun.
Winning is always fun. It was really fun to see this third team that joined them. They're I forget something Tigers. They're a very small school, and they weren't a very good offensive team. But to hell if they didn't play some damn good defense. Like it was kind of almost rude at some points watching this robot just ram into these other robots and pin them and just get in their way. So it was a lot of fun. And my son now found out yesterday that he made the travel team. He's going to Houston with 19 other people. I think 15 other kids. I think 4 adults to go to the World Championship. So he gets to actually go this year. Last year he didn't get to go because he was a freshman, and they didn't take any freshmen. But this year he's a sophomore. He's a very important member of the team, and he gets to head up the pit crew, which is really cool. Which is where they, after every match, they bring the robot in, check it for damage, replace batteries, all this other stuff. Very cool. They're going to state. They're going to the Worlds.
Congrats to Mason and crew. That's cool. When is the Worlds take place?
Over Easter weekend. So
in like 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
A couple weeks from now.
Yeah, which is good and bad. I mean, it's
seems like a heavy lift
for 2 weeks.
Yeah, to have less than a 2 week window for everyone to book tickets.
Yes.
So that's
a lot of the parents kind of I heard a lot of parents who were really, really hoping that they would go, pre-booked Airbnbs and hotels, just in case, things that you can cancel without too much penalty. Flights as well. Some flights, obviously, you can cancel. So they did that. My wife is going as well as a chauffeur or a
chaperone.
Chaperone, thank you. I was thinking moderator, but no, a chaperone. And so I'm going to be here for like a week because they're leaving on Tuesday. They won't be back till Sunday. The competition is going to be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, down in Houston at like their huge arena, the George something or other arena. I have a feeling probably Joe Revere will be there because they do not just the first robotics, but they do FLL, which is the smaller mid-school ones and things like that. I haven't looked to see if Joe's team was on there. I'm going to have a little bit of FOMO not being there, but I'll deal with it. I'm excited that my kid gets to go and experience this. This is like the 4th year in a row they've gone to the World Championships, which is cool.
It's called the World Championships, which sometimes can be a misnomer.
Truly the World Championships.
Just like a World Championship, NFL team, right? Yep. Franchise. What, where are you guys expecting?
There's going to be, the way it works is that I think there's 600 teams there. And maybe that's for all the things. There's going to be 8 groups of, it should be right. I think there's 8 groups of 80 teams that are all competing.
Okay.
Throughout the world. The number 1 robot, I think, in the world is out of Israel. I watched it. My son brought up a video of it yesterday, and I was like, what makes this robot so good? Like, I'm like, Mason, your robot's really good. What makes theirs so good? And he's like, hey, watch this. I ain't never seen a robot move that fast. The goal is to pick up these tubes this year. They look like PVC pipes, wider, maybe I would say 6 inches around. And their goal is to lift them up and put them on hooks and as high as like 8 feet in the air. So this robot arm has to come up. It was fun watching some of these kids try to run this, and they'd lift their arm up too fast and the whole robot would tip over. But whatever. So this robot from Israel just is insanely fast. It just sweeps these things up off the ground. A lot of the robots, including my son's, they have to drop them in a certain spot. This one just sucks them up like a vacuum, organizes them, flips them, and puts them in the right spot. It's amazing. The other top teams in the world, I'll give you one guess as to where all the other engineering top teams come from.
Estonia.
Not Estonia.
Damn it. I know they're all about their technology. I mean, there's a lot of engineers in China and Japan.
There are, but
I'm going to say, Russian robots.
Not Russian robots. No.
Damn it.
Silicon Valley.
Oh.
A lot of money and a lot of engineers there, but those robots tend to be like some of the best in the world. It's crazy. My son is their goal this year is to make it to the final field. So if you have to win your group you have to be in a winning group of the 80.
Okay.
And then you get to go to the finals where each one of those 8 teams goes against the other teams who won in their other brackets onto what they call Einstein Field. So that's like the big thing. Like we want to, this year our goal is to make it to Einstein Field. And I told my son, I'm like, if you do, probably because someone picked you. Because I don't think their team's good enough to make it like
low key burn
to the
burn.
like a top 8 team, but I think they could be good enough to get picked by another team. And if they can get with the right team, like this Israel team, you get paired up with this Israel team, you could get drug along to a world championship.
Okay.
And they would be all about that.
Yeah. A win's a win.
If I get paired up with Paul Macbeth and he carries me to a victory, I ain't complaining.
That's
how I look at it. So yeah, so exciting news. I'll share more maybe in the Discord when it gets closer. I think you can find the first robotics stuff. There's all these different streams, and it really is a fun thing to watch once you understand the rules.
Yeah.
It's a little complicated, but it's a lot of fun.
I'm sorry, you said 800 teams?
I think there's 600 plus teams because there's 8 groups of 80.
Okay.
And then that's just the first robotics. That's the high school groups. There are other middle school groups. They've got a whole competition.
Okay, sure.
And I think there might even be one other set of
kids.
I
I think of how many people that is, what that looks like.
This talking to my wife, who's going to be a chaperone because she's been a volunteer all year doing like communications and fundraising. It is. She's like, yeah, they take this real seriously. They're like, they don't want to lose a kid. I'm like, I told them, I turned to my wife, I said, all these kids are like 16 and older. How do you lose a kid today? Like, they've all got cell phones. They've all got things. And she's like, the kids lose themselves.
Yeah.
Like they might have,
looking at their phone and then wander into a train. Like, I could see that.
Or just in general, they want to get into a little trouble.
Yeah.
Apparently, a couple of years back, they had to send a kid home in the middle because he ended up drinking while there, apparently. And so they found out.
No drinking while roboting.
No drinking and roboting. And so they literally put him on a plane. They're like, cool, you're out of here. Go. Your parents will pick you up at the airport.
Last question along the does Texas have a lot of representation, or is it just
I think so. They've got some really good teams out of Austin area, I guess. Okay. So yeah,
because I just think of all places to go.
I think he was telling me like the number 5 team in the world is from Houston.
Okay.
And then there's a couple from Austin.
Or if it's just it's not just logistics. I mean, any NFL. I guess it'd have to be an indoor stadium probably at this time of year.
They're not playing at the NFL stadium. They're playing at the indoor convention center.
Logistically of what could house this, and I'm sure there's plenty of places large enough, obviously.
You're talking 25,000 students as well as the parents that show up.
Yeah.
This convention center, I guess, is just literally packed.
Yeah.
It's probably
I can't even imagine the
smell,
stink, and sweat.
The boy smell because all these nerd boys and nerd girls. There's a lot of nerd girls.
Sure.
But yes, just the sweat of all these high school kids in one place.
Some of who have discovered that like showering often is a good thing, and some who
have not yet,
who just haven't realized maybe I do need a little daily care.
Yeah.
And routine.
Yeah.
All right. Well.
I know I'm very, like I said, I've got a lot of FOMO. I was looking at tickets last night. I talked to my wife. I was like, maybe we can go. I found an Airbnb that's only $200 a night, like 6 blocks from the convention center, downtown Houston. I found flights that I could get for, I think it were like $300 a piece, $350 round trip. And I was like, yeah. And then we had to think, it was like, unfortunately my daughter, I don't think she'd do well at this giant packed arena for 3 straight days. I could get her to do 1. 3, I think she'd probably have a meltdown. So
it seems like it'd be a lot for her.
I think so too. And so that's what really turned me off to it. So, and it's over Easter weekend. So instead, I guess I'll have to go visit family or some crap.
All right.
So that is the Nicolay Robotics update. I'll give you more in 2 weeks.
My less bright child today tried shot put. So we got that going for her.
Your kids are twigs.
Yeah.
I'm not saying she's not strong.
Kenzie's the stronger of the two. Between those two, my 16 and 14-year-old. But she has jumped into attempting track and field. Last year, because a couple of her friends were trying tennis for the first time, she said, I'll try tennis, which I very much love the bravery to just go randomly try something new. I thought she was going to do tennis this year. She was so convinced she was going to do it. She was signed up.
Which friend didn't do it?
And then one friend said, no, I'm going to do track. And then boom, off to track she went. Yesterday they were introduced to the high jump. and it was cold and nasty outside yesterday in Wisconsin, so nobody was having a good time. And then today,
she's in 8th grade, right?
She's in 8th grade.
Yeah. Same
Today, then was handed a shot put and didn't necessarily love that either. So we'll see where she falls. Not literally, hopefully.
Yeah.
Although she does want to do hurdles.
I'd say hurdles. Those that's not bad in middle school. I did hurdles in middle school, because they're the lower hurdles. Coach looked at me and said, "You're going to do hurdles with as tall and skinny as you are."
Seems like the no-brainer, right?
Yeah, but we went to Roosevelt.
Mm-hmm.
You remember the track at Roosevelt?
Top notch?
Do you remember?
No, I
think of the school.
Yeah, it didn't go around our football field, did it?
There was no fucking track.
Okay, so it didn't go around our football field.
We literally, remember when we ran the mile? We ran on the sidewalk around the field.
Yeah, I was trying to think if it was around the football, and I'm like, I don't remember.
No,
being
there was a sidewalk.
That's why
we had no track.
Okay.
So I was on a track team. We were in a track team that had no track. So we would literally.
That just means you're a trailblazer.
We would literally run in the streets. We would literally run in the hallways. We would set up the hurdles in the school hallway and run them. We were the worst team.
Huh. That I don't.
And I know I've told this story before, but when I ran hurdles, I took like 3rd or 4th at every meet until we got to the city meet when all the people that beat me throughout the season ganged up to beat me.
They all got together. They all got one spot.
You're like, oh, look, you beat me, you beat me, you beat me.
And there's like 9 of you.
Oh, this is great.
The numbers don't work out.
I didn't take last place because one guy fell.
One
guy fell. And I remember running past him.
Being like, ha ha.
Yeah. And I remember thinking like, what a dick his dad was. Because as I was walking back, the guy's dad, who I think was a coach, apparently, was like yelling at him for falling. And I'm like, dude, your kid just fell on the hurdles at the city championship. Like, could be worse. It could be me. Like, I didn't fall and I took almost last.
You could have naturally been last if he would have just not fallen.
Exactly. I could have naturally been last and said I was second.
He would probably yelled at you anyway.
Yeah.
Look at that kid.
Yeah, there's a lot of 6'4" gangly white guy just running over hurdles. It wasn't pretty.
Doc says, Terry, on the bright side, track shoes. Besides, is there anything you need to buy?
No, track uniform.
Just a T-shirt so far because it's I think it's introduction 8th grade track. So far I think we've been hit up for a $10 T-shirt. So if it sticks to that, I did have to deliver her track shoes yesterday, quote unquote track shoes, which were just regular shoes. But of course she waited until the morning track started to then look for her track shoes to realize that they weren't in the house. They were in a car from vacation yet. So. So that meant Daddy had to come to the rescue and deliver some shoes.
Look at you. How awesome.
That's what I do on the days I'm around. I deliver shoes. Unpopular opinion, parents should not be allowed to coach their kids. I don't know how unpopular that is. That in a lot of ways from what you've seen, I know where you're coming from.
Too often you see like the high school or the dad who was maybe a college baseball player who is now the high school coach and his kid comes through I don't think you can really it would be very difficult to enforce something like that.
The problem is as much as there's this conflict of interest and or the challenges that go along with it, there's that person is always going to be easily the single most qualified, because otherwise if you have other people out there that have no vested interest necessarily, don't have a kid in it, then not to say that they can't be good or qualified. That's maybe a poor way to put it. But those coaches, I feel like, are that much more invested when their own kid is playing. Now, that comes with its downsides as well. And trust me, I've seen that. My girls have done volleyball and basketball and cheerleading and all this stuff. So I've seen when the parents are involved and how obvious that is. But I also think I'm not going to do it. I appreciate the heck out of any coach anywhere at any point. Now as an adult, I very much bow my head in appreciation and thankfulness to
I usually walk up to him and yell at him.
I often, no joke, I go out of my way often to go up to a coach and just say thank you for what you're doing. Sometimes they look at me funny. I did it to one of Mackenzie's volleyball coaches recently. I just flat out said thank you for doing all of this. Like, I have no interest in learning all the intricacies of volleyball to then giving that dedication and time and support and dealing with my own frustration of trying to coach them. I don't have that patience, and they're taking it on. I don't care if they take last or first. as long as the coach is doing what they're doing, I'm good with it. Of course, you want to see your kids do well, but
I know
I'm not about to step in and create a ripple.
I was joking with my wife. I'm like, well, I'm really glad they get this experience of being champions and getting to go to this world championship. It's really exciting for these kids. And I looked at her, I said, because you know what? He's not getting it in volleyball. Like I said, he's almost 6'8". The coaches look at him and salivate, but he just doesn't have the drive or the motivation. He likes to play, and he has a little natural skill because of his height, but ultimately it comes down to he loves the engineering portion. He loves the building. So that's what I'm glad he's getting it here. He's not.
So you're saying that if he's going to win any disc golf titles, he's going to have to get his robot together and bring it out to Maple Hill?
Probably.
I mean, that's the perfect crossover.
It kind of is. I've thought about it. I thought about talking to these
together
kids
and be like, son, this is our best chance to get a world title in disc golf. Let's get to Maple Hill. I was blessed to get a phone call from Steve Dodge just the other day. We don't always just talk to him on the show. I talked to him outside of the show. I don't know if he thinks this is too much information or not, but he's like, Terry, I know I really, really have to stop at a restroom and go to the bathroom, but I need to take my mind off that for about 10 more minutes on my next exit. So I'm calling you. And I was his emergency distraction for it was closer to 15 minutes. And safely he made it without wetting himself. So
well, if that's what he told you.
Yeah, I do believe him in this case. But he did make it, and we did have a little catch-up session nonetheless. And I always say, like, it puts a smile on my face every time I see Steve Dodge's phone number come up because he's calling me. Mm-hmm. And then for him to call me this time, not to talk about anything golf-related, anything Pro Tour related, anything about his event or his course or anything going on there, just opened right up with, hey, I've got about 15 minutes to my exit. And rather than thinking about water or waterfalls, I figured
Did you sing some TLC for him?
I did bust that out immediately. I felt it was obligatory.
Yeah.
You can't say the word waterfalls without then singing TLC. So, hey, I was listening. Here's a side note to that.
This is great. This is what we do.
What band that you love sings like a TLC cover?
There's lots, I'm sure.
Oh my gosh. It's Waterfalls. Yeah, it was Waterfalls, and it's one of your favorite bands that
Jimmy Eat World?
No, it's one that I actually I recognize them, but it's oh my gosh. I guess I'm gonna have to go. I just heard it last night in my car on my Sirius TLC cover. Not cover band.
No.
Who?
You just like type in like waterfall cover. Yeah, I don't know.
It is a. It's gonna drive me crazy because it's Death Cab for. Oh no, maybe that was your wife that listened to Death Cab for Cutie.
I mean, we both listened to a little bit.
She was into them more than you.
A little more than me, though. Yeah.
Okay, that's what it was.
I liked the lead singer's other band better, Postal Service, but
okay,
whatever.
Anyway, that's what I heard the other day. I was like, okay. I've never heard a cover to this song.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever heard like a big band do a cover to that one.
Yeah,
a larger one, but
I thought that was interesting. So if you're a Death Cab for Cutie fan, maybe you've heard it or already know.
Probably already heard Waterfalls.
Yeah, I was like,
Just don't go chasing them. That's what I hear.
Tim says, useless fact. My initials are TLC. The only question then becomes, is your middle name
Leonard?
Lee? I say, don't be like my brother, Timothy Lee. But you already spell your name different.
What?
Tim Leonard, Tim Lee, Tim
Leonard.
Larry?
Lawrence? Timothy Lawrence?
Now the podcast has to sit here in silence until you answer us.
Until you answer.
As one of our most dedicated and beloved Smashies for all these years, this is Lee. Okay, I was right.
All right, L-E-E.
Lime.
L-Y-M-E, not even L-I-M-E.
I don't know why that's funny, but
Ricky's kryptonite. Ouch.
Ouch. Also out of Ohio. Yeah. So, those fighting crabs out of Ohio, or whatever your mascot is going to be for them. Something of that nature. No. Other completely unrelated news, tomorrow I've got a date.
No, good for you.
Yeah. One Parker Welk.
Wow. Wine and dine him?
No, we're on opposite sides of the country, but Parker Welk is home.
Long distance relationship.
Yes, it definitely will be.
He's
He is
married,
home,
Terry,
and
so you know.
his wife, I think it's Allison or Allie, just celebrated a birthday recently, so I'm a little late on that, but happy birthday, Allie. He has returned home today or yesterday, and he's going to be doing some commentary with me on Jonesboro.
Great.
And we know people are still jonesing for it. Disc Golf Van Life. We'll have Kristen's 2 rounds, and I have the MPO side, which first round, spoiler, does have Parker Welk. Spoiler again, second round does not.
He shot so well, they let him sit out around?
Yeah.
Damn.
So, but Parker Welk will join me, and then we're looking to get that released. This weekend seems like a great time, since there is not an Elite Series event. But what is happening that we totally forgot about in the regular show, there is, I believe, another Go Throw event, isn't there?
Are they
at Eagles
Crossing this weekend?
Oh,
That would make sense.
It's sometimes when it flies under the radar of not being on the Pro Tour schedule or the PDGA schedule, and I'm sifting through those things, that would be why. So Go Throw will be at Eagles Crossing this weekend, I believe.
GoThrowTour.com.
Is that Go Throw? Oh, if I could only type.
Yes, Terry, Go Throw.
Can you confirm or deny?
That would mean I'd have to click on
news, tickets, leaderboard. Eagles Crossing, Saturday, April 12th. Eagles Crossing, the Masters Invitational.
Which you're having it on the same weekend as the Masters I'm just saying, like, I get it.
And it's not a Masters age event. Because I'm covering the U.S. Masters in a few weeks, which is taking place the weekend before the Masters Cup. And so if anyone gets confused with regard to all the word Masters, not to be on, none of those are on the Disc Golf Masters Tour, by the way. I don't think. If you're confused by that, it's fair. And the fact that many other sports or organized activity use Masters as a term of status and accomplishment, not age, right?
Yes.
Isn't that how, does chess work that way?
Yes.
And some combat sports work that way, I believe.
Sure.
So if you're confused by all of that, all I can say is I agree. I understand it. I happen to know some of those distinctions, but if you're completely confused and you think the word Masters gets just thrown around a lot and it creates confusion, I agree with you.
I just don't like that they're doing it on the same weekend as the Masters.
It had to be a conscious decision.
I'm sure it was.
To not finish it on Sunday, though. Their event.
Probably.
Because of the Masters, right?
I don't know.
I'm guessing it is. They do. They do finish it on the 13th, so never mind.
Yeah, it's got a $50,000 purse.
Didn't somebody say that is getting reduced a little?
I don't know, Terry.
What do you know?
Not enough. Not enough and not a lot.
Not enough.
Both.
Yes. All right. Well, anyway, that's taking place. So, unfortunately, Johnny and I clearly don't know a lot more about it, but Go Throw DG or GoThrowTour.com will get you more information. I'm going to put the link in the description, in the comments here. There you go.
It wouldn't shock me if the Masters reached out and yelled at them. They're a disc golf event on the same weekend, like that. I could see like there being some sort of like, hey guys, let's not. Not that they will. We're pretty small.
They could just call Luke Humphreys. Luke likes playing golf and is good.
He does. He does.
So.
Patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV. That's where you sign up to give us money, which we love you when you do that. And that's the list we organize to give you gifts and prizes.
Speaking of which, one of our patrons from a few weeks ago, after confirming his address, we went back and forth a little bit, and we talked about some of the possibilities. And he had said, I don't really care. It's going to be a wall hanger, so grab a disc, and I need just you and Johnny V to sign it.
Oh, I can do that.
And it will become a wall hanger. So I'm going to have you sign it. Then I will erase that, sign over it, and then send it to him. So he's got a real keeper. This is the one that's going to be going out to him. A couple years ago, I had run the Skyline Classic right around this time of year. And this was a custom stamp done by our friends over at Discraft at the time. It is a Force. Discraft still.
I think there's a
not
marker
just
in
at
this
that
bag
time.
here.
But yeah, we'll get this signed and sent out. This is to a Patreon member from a couple of weeks ago. And I continue to go through our list and double check we've got the correct addresses so that we can get them out to you guys. But that's what's happening with this particular giveaway. He wanted the double autograph. We don't do that by default by any means, because you probably wanted to have value. But if you want us to scribble on it with our names, we can do that too.
And this week, because of Austin Turner, we are going to give away a lefty disc.
That's a good idea.
This is a lefty special disc that we're going to give away this weekend.
I do have a separate section. It's only 5% of my inventory.
Makes sense.
But I'll give away a lefty one. I love it.
All right.
Edwin says, I cornered Terry at Worlds last year and got him to sign a disc for me. It's on the wall. I need JVD next.
Happy whenever you find me. Always happy.
Yeah. See you in Finland. And then, Johnny, just come to Finland.
I would love to.
Okay.
110 people eligible for our giveaway this week. Terry Miller, what number should we draw?
I mean, Antala has gone back-to-back.
There's a lot of twos this week, and he's gone back-to-back and back-to-back. Austin Turner, our guest, was tied for second.
So
3.
6?
All right, we'll do our second number.
Second number sounds about right.
We will generate.
Give away
our
some
first
action.
number is 33. Our second number is, and they're sorted by first name, 35. 35.
Who is the lucky winner?
35. Let me scroll all the way up to my list. 35. Dwayne Reeder.
Dwayne
Reeder.
And that address is wrong, Dwayne.
It's probably an old address out of Florida.
I have not been able to stay with Dwayne for the Throw Down the Mountain because Dwayne and his wife moved a couple of years ago. So we'll have to get the updated address, as I know you're on the East Coast. But thank you so much for the support. I'm going to break your heart a little, Ed.
Yeah, Ed missed it by
next.
one.
You
Sorry,
missed
Ed.
it by one. Dwayne.
And then Edwin Downs right below him.
And then Edwin. Oosh.
All right.
But Dwayne's had me sleep in his beds. None of you other guys can say that. Well, some of you on the list anyway. Maybe there's a few.
There's a few on this list, I guarantee it. And a lot more off the list, I'm just saying.
So needless to say, I will be getting something out to Dwayne. Thank you so much, Dwayne. I appreciate it. Hope you're doing well. Along with all the little ones as you've moved out to that side of the country. Rigged, Ed says. Not really. I'd have no problem sending it to you, but you're a loser this week, not the winner. That's all.
Yeah, you were literally one away. You were 36, Ed.
So close. So close. I think that's everything.
If it weren't for Eli Bowman up at the top, who puts a pound in front of his name, so he's at the very top, Ed would have won because everything would have been shifted up one. So Ed, you can blame Eli.
Mm-hmm. In this case,
yeah. Hashtag Eli.
Yeah, that seems fair.
Just saying, it's what I would do.
It's gonna annoy me because I thought I had one other shout out, but I don't recall what it was for, so I'll think about it next week or about 5 minutes after we end the show. But
I'm sure you will.
Nonetheless, yeah. Thank you guys. Thank you to everyone. Ready?
I think we're ready.
Oh, I did. That's one other thing I was thinking of.
Okay, we're not ready.
We're not ready, and I could have talked about this any other time earlier in the show, but I do want to say, especially because you guys have been brought into this world so much more on this side of things, that in the last few weeks or months, we've talked a little bit about there being a Southeast Asia coordinator that has been recruited in terms of the PDGA, trying to find someone to fill that spot. And that has gone to none other than Aaron Herman. And you've heard me talk to and about Aaron multiple times throughout the last few years, as he is one of the main driving forces behind the Chiang Mai Disc Golf Club, located up in Chiang Mai, Thailand. Has worked very tirelessly to do so much for that area, along with a number of other individuals, just creating that entire disc golf community up there. So Aaron Herman has officially been selected as the PDGA Asia coordinator. And then the PDGA International Director, Brian Honegger, also selected, excuse me, I just want to make sure I get the title correct, Luisa Bartolome from the Philippines as the PDGA Asia ambassador. Luisa, married to Hall of Famer who does some things too in Derek, but Luisa has been doing insane things to foster junior participation, women's participation, so many things in that area to foster new disc golfers, new PDGA members, but more importantly, just disc golfers in general in her area in the Philippines and beyond. So congratulations to both of them. That certainly could have been mentioned even at a larger scale earlier in the show, but both to both of them, very well deserved. I know there's a handful of people that were running for different positions there. Tons of enthusiasm in Southeast Asia for the growth of disc golf. I have the honor of knowing most of those people that have been putting forth that effort. So I know it was a tough decision, but definitely landed on a couple of great people there, great ambassadors.
It's good to hear.
Moving forward. So congrats to both of them. That was announced a little less, I think it was announced last Wednesday. So I guess this is the first time. So I wanted to throw it out there, and congrats to both. All right, now we can end the show. That was a very needed and appropriate shout out to both of them.
I agree.
For Johnny V, I'm the disc golf guy. It's been fun. It's been good talking to you guys. We love you. We appreciate you, especially the ones that want to throw in some super chats or support us via Patreon. That's what keeps all the lights on here and keeps Johnny losing money on Underdog.
Oh, sorry. We ran out of money.
We'll see you next week when you step inside the Smashbox.